Rihanna is a once-in-a-generation pop culture icon whose career and cultural impact far transcends her music. Her intentional mystique and seductive aura, paired with her down-to-earth attitude, comes off as effortless, but proves to be extremely hard to emulate by others. From taking over airwaves and hearts with her sultry island grooves, eccentric fashion statements, and electro dance pop music, to building a billion-dollar cosmetic brand, Rihanna has successfully redefined the ways in which Black women inhabit Hollywood, pushing the limits of what was seen as possible for a female pop star. If you look at celebrities past or present, it's hard to compare Rihanna to anyone, as she is a truly unique figure in Hollywood. In terms of aesthetic and mystique, she's like Marilyn Monroe, with a modern pop music impact of legends like Madonna and Janet Jackson. In this video series, me and you are going to deep dive into Rihanna's entire career in music, starting with her reggae dancehall influenced debut album Music of the Sun, all the way to Anti. Now let's get into it. Robin Rihanna Fenty grew up in Barbados with her Bayesian father and Guyanese mother. As a child, she listened to Caribbean music such as reggae, as well as American hip-hop and R&B.
I'm from Barbados. Everybody knows everybody else. It's a small island, so, I prefer R&B and hip-hop, reggae. My influences are Beyonce, Mariah Carey, Alicia Keys, Whitney Houston. I always used to sing.
She especially enjoyed singing and won a high school talent show with a rendition of Mariah Carey's song. At the same time, she started a girl group with two friends, and in 2004, she attracted the attention of Evan Rogers, an American record producer. Robin recalls the moment Robin Rihanna Fenty walked in. Rogers was immediately captivated by her look and was excited to hear if she had the talent to back it up. She had such a presence, Rogers said. Her makeup was perfect, and she had these capri pants and matching sneakers with her green eyes and long supermodel neck. Rogers immediately thought, however, she probably can't sing because usually it's the pretty ones who can't. But as we all know, he was wrong. The whole time I'm thinking, okay, I have to follow up meeting with this one, Rogers said. Meanwhile, Robin's mother was low-key about the opportunity. She didn't really get that her daughter had anything special, Monica Fenty reportedly told Rogers. She was like, well, if you see something, I just want her schoolwork to be done. Education is very important. 15-year-old Robin, who had no formal training in dance or music, told Rogers during their meeting that being in music and business was all I've ever wanted to do. Similar to Britney Spears and Kelly Clarkson, Robin was eager to escape her sometimes violent childhood, which was caused by her father. It was more likely a much more urgent need to escape from the anxieties of a violent home life into the illusion of security and boundless love that a life on stage seemed to offer. That desire, more than any inborn talent, is what fans will connect to, and that is what record men look for in new artists. It's the one thing that they can't manufacture. In December 2004, Robin recorded the Caribbean Jam Pon de Replay under the name Rihanna, and the song was sent to several record labels. When the demo reached Def Jam, it was sent all the way to Jay-Z, the president of the label. Rihanna was flown to meet Jay-Z and a few other executives at the label. I was very shy. I was cold the entire time. I had butterflies. I'm sitting across from Jay-Z like Jay-Z. She would later say in a 2007 interview with The Observer, she knocked her audition out of the park, which triggered Jay-Z to say, so what do I have to say to get you guys to cancel all your other meetings? Jay-Z would not let her leave the building until she signed with the label.
It was the longest 12 hours of my life. I was just waiting downstairs and I was like, get the contract down here. I want to sign. I was so hyped. I didn't sleep for the next 3 days. But I was just looking at the roof like, oh gosh, is this happening? I could not believe it, and I still can't believe it.
They were there until 3 in the morning while the lawyers worked out the details. Fenty later recalled Jay-Z saying, there's only two ways out the door if she signed the contract, or out this window if she didn't. At the age of 16, she signed the contract of her dreams and left through the front door to new opportunities, unaware of the massive success she is destined to become. I actually commend Jay-Z's eye for talent. He rarely, if ever, is wrong about any artist he sticks his neck out for. Music of the Sun was released on August 29th, 2005 by Def Jam Recording. Prior to signing with Def Jam, Rihanna was discovered by record producer Evan Rogers in Barbados, who helped Rihanna record demo tapes to send out to several record labels. Jay-Z, the former CEO and president of Def Jam, was given Rihanna's demo by Jay Brown, his A&R at Def Jam, and invited her to audition for the label after hearing what turned out to be her first single, Pon de Replay. Rihanna and Evan Rogers met in December 2003 through mutual friends of Rihanna and Rogers' wife while the couple was on vacation in Barbados. LOL, imagine stumbling across a Rihanna-like talent while vacationing. I'm not sure if you all believe in divine intervention, but reading the story made me think of how the universe was basically lined up for her for this to happen. It was the perfect scenario, almost like a movie. Now back to the story. So after meeting for the first time, Rodgers asked Rihanna to come to his hotel room, where she performed renditions of Destiny's Child Emotion and Mariah Carey's Hero. Rihanna's rendition impressed Rodgers, who then took her to New York City, where she was accompanied by her mother to record some demo tapes, which she could send to record labels. She recorded the demo over the next year intermittently, due to Rihanna only being able to record during school holidays. Looking back at it, it's almost unbelievable how young Rihanna was at this time, and still is. She did not look 16 at all, and of course I know it's the hair and makeup. Even Rihanna's demeanor was extremely mature for her age. She always had a calm, cool head on her shoulders, and I feel like that's due to her disciplined upbringing with her mother in Barbados. She was acutely aware of her purpose for leaving that island.
It feels sometimes too good to be true. My dream is actually coming true. Like, it's amazing. I can't tell you words. You might.
At age 16, Rihanna was signed to Rodgers and Carl Sturken's production company, Syndicated Rhythm Productions, who assigned her a lawyer and manager before the completed demo tape was distributed to various record labels around the world in late 2004. The first to respond to the demo tape was Jay-Z, who had recently been appointed as president and CEO of Def Jam Recordings. Rihanna auditioned for him and music mogul L.A. Reid in his office. Looking back on the audition and meeting Jay-Z, Rihanna explained in an interview how she felt before walking into the room, saying, "That's when I got really nervous. I was like, oh my god, he's right there. I can't look, I can't look, I can't look. I remember being extremely quiet. I was very shy. I was cold the entire time. I had butterflies. I'm sitting across from Jay-Z, like, Jay-Z. I was starstruck." During the audition, Rihanna performed Whitney Houston's cover for I Love You, as well as Pon de Replay and The Last Time, which were written and produced by Rodgers and Sturken, and would be included in her debut album, Music of the Sun. Jay-Z was initially skeptical about signing Rihanna after he felt that Pon de Replay was too big for her, saying that when a song is that big, it's hard for a new artist to come back from. "I don't sign songs, I sign artists."
A lot has happened to you. It's kind of a whirlwind. How are you feeling about your second single coming out before your album even drops?
I am so happy about that, because you know, people could get confused about Pon de Replay being so big and thinking I'm a one hit wonder, and it's so glad that we get the opportunity to show them that that's not what we're about. We're about making and selling albums and developing a real artist here, so I'm glad about that.
The audition resulted in Rihanna signing a 6-album record deal with Def Jam Recordings in February 2005 on the same day of the audition, with Jay-Z saying, "There's only two ways out." After signing to Def Jam Recordings, Rihanna canceled other meetings with record labels and relocated from Barbados to New York City to live with Rodgers and his wife. Rihanna explained the concept behind the title of the album to Kids World, saying that the sun is a representative of her native Caribbean culture, as well as herself, and that album consists of the music from her heritage. Rihanna worked with various producers for music on the Sun and continued to work with Carl Sturken and Everett Rodgers, who previously written and produced Pon de Replay and The Last Time for Rihanna's demo tape.
The song is a message to the DJ. We telling the DJ, turn up the song. There's the lyrics in the song. We turn up the music. Like, the song is so much fun that when you hear it, you just want that. So we had to put that in the video. A lot of dancing.
Although Rihanna stated that when she first heard Pon de Replay, she did not want to record it, expressing that she felt the song was too sing-songy, but she grew to like the song at the end of the recording process. It's so interesting how so many famous artists had hits they were indifferent to or hated in the beginning that turned out to be a fan favorite. In an interview with Kids World, Rihanna learned how the pair helped her develop her songwriting abilities, talking about Rodgers and Sturken, who had worked with recording artists such as Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, and Kelly Clarkson. Music of the Sun is a Caribbean-influenced urban dance pop album. Its dance pop songs are complemented by conventional R&B ballads. The lead single, Pon de Replay, was written by Rodgers, Sturken, and Vanda Nobles and was produced by the two. Pon de Replay is a simple dance pop song with dance hall beats and reggae vocal cadence. Lyrically, the song has its protagonist asking the DJ to play her favorite song, as well as the fulfillment of dancing in the club. The Last Time, written and produced by Rodgers and Sturken, is an acoustic guitar-driven ballad, while while Now I Know is a stripped-down, string-driven song. In addition to working with Rodgers and Sturkin for the majority of the album, Rihanna also worked with production teams Polk and Tone of Trackmasters and Stargate. The former wrote and produced the second single released from the album, If It's Lovin' That You Want, my personal favorite off the album, which Rihanna described as a fun song and R&B song. If It's Lovin' You Want is a song about a girl telling a boy he should make her his girl because she has what the boy wants. The remix of the song entitled If It's Lovin' You Want Part 2, which features rap by Corey Guns, was included as a bonus track on Rihanna's sophomore album, A Girl Like Me, released in 2006. Alongside Rodgers and Sturkin, Stargate co-wrote and co-produced Let Me, which appears as the 9th song on the album. Music of the Sun also contains a remake of Jamaican singers Dawn Penn's You Don't Love Me, No No No, and features dancehall recording artist Vybz Kartel. Music of the Sun received generally mixed reviews from music critics. The New York Times viewed that the album's combination of dancehall and pop resulted in Pon de Replay being one of the summer's biggest and most seductive club tracks, and felt that Rihanna sounded stranded without a beat to sing along to. Barry Walters of the Rolling Stone found it lacking in replay value, ingenuity, and rhythm, with generic vocal hiccups and frills. Slant Magazine called the album a glut of teen R&B cliches, and described the lead single Pon de Replay as a dancehall pop mixture that owes plenty of its sweat and shimmy to Beyoncé's Baby Boy. Entertainment Weekly wrote that Rihanna's vibrant vocals lifted tracks like The La La and Let Me, and this bland R&B debut is filled with cheap production and mediocre arrangements that block out the music of the sun. The Village Voice rated the album a dud, indicating a bad record whose details rarely merit further thought. In a positive review, AllMusic commented that the album presents Rihanna as a winsome rather than a wannabe, as well as how she managed to set herself apart from other urban dance pop stars such as Ashanti, Beyoncé, and Ciara. They further explained, saying, Music of the Sun descends into faceless slow jams while, after a while, overall consistency not being among its attributes, but thankfully it picks up the pace towards the end. The result is one of the more engaging urban dance pop albums of the year. The Jamaica Observer complimented the dancehall and hip-hop composition on several of the songs, including Pon de Replay, Rush, Let Me Know, Music of the Sun, and The La La, writing that they make the listener feel happy and carefree, which I agree. In all honesty, Music of the Sun is an acquired taste that I've come to appreciate over time because of its simplicity and nostalgia I get from hearing it. It may not be Rihanna's best work, but Rihanna's worst songs are some of artists' best songs today. It's all relative. Nevertheless, the album gave us timeless bops such as Pon de Replay, which is still one of my favorite Rihanna songs. Unfortunately, due to the bias that restricted black women in pop into narrow standards, I feel like Rihanna was unfairly compared to Beyoncé and other pop acts way too soon. When Beyoncé, by the time of Rihanna's debut solo album, had already several Grammys and had become a seasoned performer star in her own right. In 2023, it's hard to conceive of Rihanna not being the Rihanna we know her as today. Like most artists, it took her some time to figure out her way of standing out against the numerous other cookie-cutter black female R&B and pop stars at the time. Acts like Tierra Marie, Ciara, and A-Marie were also part of the Rihanna cohort, if you will. These women were pressured into following the standards or a blueprint that was heavily influenced by Beyoncé, who by this time was a solidified pop star. In the late 2000s, Beyoncé became the standard that all black women who hoped to break into mainstream had to follow to some degree, whether it be in vocal cadence, style, or the way they performed on stage. The culture of the early to mid 2000s only allowed it for specific women to be marketable as a pop star. Often, what was marketable often meant that the artist had to fit conventional beauty standards, such as being lighter skinned, thin, and wearing non-ethnic hairstyles. Looking at pictures of Rihanna before a Good Girl Gone Bad era, circa 2005-2006, you can see the Beyonce-ification of her image down to the way she even poses for pictures. I don't think Rihanna deliberately sought out to emulate Beyoncé. I think her team was just molding her to be marketable for the environment in the mid-2000s, which happened to be based on Beyoncé. For white pop stars, Britney Spears was the standard that they had to emulate for success. I can do a whole separate video on this topic. I find it so interesting. Let me know if you would like something like that. Rihanna at first seemed like to the media that she was no different than any other Beyoncé copycats at the time. Pon de Replay, the most successful song on Music of the Sun, was bombarded with endless comparisons to Beyoncé's Baby Boy, And it didn't make it better that she was also signed under Jay-Z's label. Honestly, at this point in 2023, it's nonsensical to compare Rihanna and Beyonce as they are completely different artists and people. I love them both and I get different things out of each of these ladies' work. I only brought this up because the Beyonce comparisons at one point did affect Rihanna's career as a budding pop sensation, so I found it necessary to talk about it. But now that she's firmly solidified as a legend in music and beyond, you hardly ever hear the comparisons to Beyonce anymore, and I'm glad because they couldn't be more different from each other. What I find so captivating about Rihanna's early career was her dedication to step firmly out of the way from the Beyonce comparisons, carving her own lane in the industry from scratch. She did what most R&B and pop acts of the early 2000s couldn't, and that was create a brand that does not allow herself to be compared to others. Again, this took time, as her first two albums, Music of the Sun and Girl Like Me, are jam-packed with radio hits, but failed to deliver the true essence of Rihanna's unique artistic style, which is introduced in Good Girl Gone Bad era. Stay tuned for the next episode where I tackle A Girl Like Me, which was Rihanna's Flex album, where she proved she's not only just a one-album sensation, but a solid pop star that can compete with the people she once looked up to. Peace out.
Oh, acapella. Here we go. DJ Ever, this one's for you, man.
It's the last time you're ever gonna kiss these lips, or ever will deceive these eyes. Believe me when I tell you this, baby boy, it's the last time I'm ever gonna cry these tears. I'm ever gonna hear your lies. So listen while I make it clear, in case you didn't hear. This time, the last time, there's no time to give it one more try. There's only time to say goodbye.
Beautiful.
Yeah!
Arms. Oh my goodness.
Oh, man.
You're gonna blow, girl.
Despite having a couple hits under her belt, Rihanna's early career was very rocky and unstable. This was mainly because of the competition she was placed in with her label mates when she was signed to Def Jam. Essentially, Def Jam was on the quest for the next Beyonce, and this came at a cost to these ladies' individual artistic expression. Rihanna, Tierra Marie, and Christina Milian were all fighting for this spot, and it was Rihanna who managed to see exactly what was going on and do a complete 180 on her image, and ultimately be the one to succeed in the purging of female pop and R&B acts that happened towards the end of the early 2000s. But to see how exactly this 180 shift happened, we have to go back to 2006, when Rihanna was not respected as the bold and daring public figure she is perceived now to be. Rihanna signed to Def Jam Records when she was unsure who exactly she wanted to be. She sported half tops, baggy jeans, and sneakers like Aaliyah, but also had long blonde hair and demure soft looks like Beyonce, who she said was her idol. Her first two albums, Music of the Sun and Girl Like Me, did not meet the expectations of Def Jam label boss L.A. Reid, even though there were some hit singles in both albums, On the Replay, Unfaithful, Break It Off, and SOS. The albums collectively fell below sales expectations. At that time, her record label, Def Jam, had signed two other ladies in addition to Rihanna, Tierra Marie and Christina Milian. In fact, everyone assumed it was Tierra Marie that would be the breakout star, so the label invested more in her than Rihanna. It's so interesting because I can acknowledge that Tierra Marie may have been objectively more talented to the label, but in my opinion, that's not what it takes to make a star. Rihanna had and still has an undeniable star quality about her. In 2005, they all put out albums, Rihanna, Tierra Marie, and Christina Milian. Every one of them fell below expectations, including Rihanna, so Def Jam planned to drop all three of them. Tierra Marie expected to be the breakout success of Def Jam, but was the first to get axed. Christina Milian was next. The record company had lost money and lost faith. In addition to this, Rihanna was read to absolute filth by critics, cited as ordinary, plain, and would fade away. Let's quickly explore A Girl Like Me, which could be perceived as her worst album, and honestly I agree. Not because it's bad, because again Rihanna's worst is some of artists' best, but in terms of what we expect from Rihanna, this album is definitely not it. I rarely revisit this album because I do feel like Rihanna was not as creatively driven in this project. No shade, it was released only 6 months after her debut, and you can kind of tell that. I think this was more of her talent flex album, similar to Beyonce's B-Day without the success of B-Day. This album proved to the girl girls that she doesn't need a Diwali rhythm sample or reggae remix to sell records. A Girl Like Me was the Americanized version of Music of the Sun, hence why many critics saw the album as bland and repetitive. For writing and production of A Girl Like Me, Rihanna teamed up once again with record producers Carl Sturken and Evan Rogers, who produced most of the tracks on her previous album. While recording the track If It's Loving You Want for her debut album, Rihanna received a visit from singer Ne-Yo, in which they met for the first time, although they never got a chance to collaborate on Music of the Sun. When production started, she came up with an idea of working with Ne-Yo. When asked about collaborating with Ne-Yo, Rihanna stated, "We never got around to it on the first album, so for the second album, I was like, you know what, I have to work with that guy Ne-Yo, and it made it a lot easier because he's on the same label I am." For the album, Rihanna also worked with Jamaican reggae and dancehall artist Sean Paul on the track Break It Off, which was recorded in Paul's hometown of Kingston, Jamaica. Rihanna expressed in an interview with 106 in Park that Sean and her had a lot of chemistry in the studio and he was a great vibe to be around.
Really excited to tell us about the song that he has on your album, so check this out. Yeah, check it out.
All right. We got so then struggle and pain where she feel all the while and she want a good man to give her the file. Wild child, so she left on my file. It's a long time now, me want for the side.
He was so excited about the collaboration. He just gave us a sneak
I gotta
peek
give
of
you a
it
piece
before.
of it.
Yeah, before your album
That's
even
my
dropped.
boy, man.
It's a beautiful
he
thing.
Is amazing. I had so much fun working with him in the studio. The most fun I ever had.
And you know it word for word. She
yeah,
was going along
I had
with
to
it.
know
I was
those
like-
words.
And I'm like, Rihanna, what is he saying? What is he saying? Tell me.
Because every time he wrote a part, he'd be like, "Reed, tell me how you like this." So obviously.
While working on A Girl Like Me, Rihanna not only recorded songs, but also promoted Music of the Sun. She commented, "We were so busy promoting the first album while trying to get this one done, working some crazy hours. That's why this album is so close to me, because I put my heart into it, because I really put my heart and soul into it." SOS was the first recorded track for the album, a song which originally intended for Christina Milian's third studio album, So Amazing. However, she rejected it. L.A. Reid had Rihanna in mind as the next artist to record the song. The song was recorded within 3 days and eventually later released as the lead single from A Girl Like Me. Kisses Don't Lie was penned and produced by Evan Rogers and Carl Sturken, and it was one of the 3 songs on the album on which Rihanna received writing credit. The song was written and recorded in her native Barbados and was described by Rihanna as mixed with rock and reggae. In the song Unfaithful, penned by Ne-Yo, Rihanna wanted to speak about personal things that girls her age at the time were experiencing. This was inspired by the album's title, and according to her, it was one of her favorite songs on the album. It's also my personal favorite off the album as well. We Ride was written and produced by Stargate, who also produced and co-wrote Unfaithful for the song Break It Off. Rihanna flew down to Jamaica to record the song. The song was written by Donovan Bennett and it was co-written by Sean Paul and Rihanna herself. The album's closing track, written by Rogers, Sturken, and Rihanna, who co-wrote the album's track A Girl Like Me. Rogers and Sturken produced and wrote 8 of the album's 16 tracks. Musically, A Girl Like Me reveals new types of musical genres compared to Rihanna's light and up-tempo debut effort, Music of the Sun. Her goal on this project was to find songs that express the many things young women want to say, but might not know how to. In an interview, Rihanna said, "Now I'm singing about experiences I've gone through and stuff that other 18-year-old girls go through. It's all about progression."
You definitely keep stressing the fact that you've grown a lot and that a lot has happened in this past year, because I read a quote where you said, I feel like I've grown 5 years in just 1 year. Tell us what's changed about Rihanna in the past year.
Well, I definitely matured a lot. I grew a lot because it forced me to, because I have to think like a woman, and it calls for a lot of responsibility, so it therefore forced me to grow a lot.
Reggae music present in her debut album subsequently continues into A Girl Like Me. For the album, Rihanna used influences of different music genres, including rock music, while keeping the reggae and dancehall roots of her previous album. The new effort also presents Rihanna's new side with some balladic elements. Also, the album mostly follows the disco-ish mode of its predecessor. It was noted for its introduction of the rock genre to Rihanna's music, mostly represented by the rock and reggae mashup Kisses Don't Lie, though Rihanna herself stated the album is not overall driven by rock influence. In an interview, Rihanna commented, "Growing up in Barbados, I wasn't exposed to a lot of rock music. We really love reggae and soca music and hip-hop, but when I moved to the United States last year, I was exposed to a lot of different music, rock being one of them, and I fell in love with it. Now I love rock music." Vibe magazine wrote that A Girl Like Me is a pop album, one informed but not not bounded by Rihanna's Caribbean roots, in that it dispels any lingering notions of her as a dancehall meets R&B ambassador. Slant Magazine called the album a record that almost identically veered between sunny dancehall, dub pop, hip-hop infused club bangers, and adult-oriented ballads. Lyrically, the album's theme speaks of girls' experiences. The album was widely addressed as a personal album, speaking about what it's like to be a girl like me, things that girls Rihanna's age at the time were going through, and as well as every aspect of her life. People being cheated on, falling in and out of love, people hating on you, having feelings towards a guy, and partying, the typical 20s experience. SOS tells about a guy who gives a girl a feeling that is very overwhelming. He drives the girl crazy, and she needs someone to rescue her from it. Kisses Don't Lie talks about a girl who falls in love with a guy, but is stuck between an ultimatum because she's afraid of getting hurt. Unfaithful documents the decay of a relationship when another person starts cheating. According to Rihanna, I'm referred to as a murderer in that song, meaning I'm taking this guy's life by hurting him, cheating on him. He knows it, and it makes him feel so bad. It's killing him to know that another guy is making me happy. We Ride talks about how a guy promises a girl that they will be together forever, while the girl describes moments in which he did things that could tear them apart. The lyrics of Them Haters portrays a message about how haters try to bring people down and recommend excluding them from your life. Final Goodbye talks about a woman who wants to spend the rest of her life with a man, but feels that she needs to reveal a secret before moving on. Crazy Little Thing Called Love continues the theme of love in a similar vein to SOS. However, Crazy Little Things Called Love portrays a message about being in love, whereas SOS talks about having an overwhelming feeling towards a guy. A Girl Like Me debuted at number 5 on the US Billboard 200, selling 115,000 copies its first week, nearly twice the debut sales of Rihanna's debut album Music of the Sun, which sold 69,000 copies in its first week. The album was since certified double platinum by the Record Industry Association of America in the United States. As of June 2015, the album sold 1.4 million copies in the US. These numbers were not the numbers expected by executives at Def Jam. Rihanna was in danger of losing everything she worked for if she did not prove that she wasn't just another pop girl serving Beyoncé realness. That's when we arrive at the era that saved Rihanna from the chopping block and elevated her to legendary status in pop music. From that point forward, Rihanna understood she was next on the chopping block. She took a bold move on her career with her third album, Good Girl Gone Bad.
Canada loves you.
I love Canada back.
Yeah, you've been here before, right?
Yeah, I've been here a few times.
Yeah, and all those screaming fans out there. I mean, you got your friends here, which is
Yeah.
good, right? You know, they kind of give you that reinforcement before you go out there. How do you get ready?
Well, it's always great to meet the fans. It always makes me very excited. So there's no way to prepare for that. You just have to go and have fun. It's a great thing when you get a chance to meet fans.
Yeah, and this new album, #1. Hello, everybody. #1 right here in Canada.
That's crazy.
That's awesome.
That is incredible. Thanks to everyone out there who purchased it, and if you don't have it yet, you need to go and get it. But thank you, Canada, for making that #1 for me.
You know what was nice? I said, oh, wait, look at Rihanna. Jay-Z just seemed to to me anyways, take you under his wing. And it just obviously seemed to work out really, really well.
Thank you.
What was it like working with him?
Great working with him. Also an honor, because he's Jay-Z, and every entertainer or artist for that matter, they go through their career dreaming of a collaboration with him, and here I am at 19 years old doing a collaboration with Jay. So it's very flattering.
Did you work in the studio at all with Justin? Were you in there? Yeah.
I was in there with him, and Timbaland produced it, and it's one of my favorite songs in the album, called Rehab. It was fun working with them too.
I don't know. I can only imagine. Is it all these creative juices flowing?
Yeah.
And, I mean, how did it evolve? How did the song sort of happen?
Well, the thing is, we had to follow Timbaland on the road. He was on tour with Justin.
Oh, okay.
So we would just go to the studio after a show or something, and one night Justin came to the studio, and he was just playing around, and then we heard some songs, and he just started spitting out some ideas, singing, and then Timbaland had an idea, and this was back in New York after we had finished working in Chicago. We came to New York to work with him again, and Justin came through the studio again. Timbaland had an idea for Rehab, and Justin was like, he came in, he just listened to the beat and just got crazy.
that must be an amazing feeling. And then you just chime in, and then the music just happens. Right?
Absolutely.
That's what magic is all about.
Right?
I think so.
It was great.
So tell me about the title of your album and what does it mean?
Good Girl Gone Bad is the title of the album, and it really represents my liberation on this album, freeing myself of that innocent image, that strict image and sound that I was forced to maintain, and I just wanted to do things my way this time. So it was more, Bad Girl is the attitude, you know?
Right.
Even on the album, you listen to it, a lot of the songs are in your face, you hear a different, more confident person singing it, so.
And did the hair come from that too?
Definitely.
I love it.
Thank you.
Man, you just turned us around. You made us go, whoa.
Thank you so much.
That's a bold move, my dear.
Thank you.
And it looks great.
Thank
now,
you
is
so
that
much.
you? Is that you just saying?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I always wanted to cut my hair, but could never do it.
And you went black too.
Yeah.
Jet black.
Uh-huh.
That's making a statement.
Thank you so much.
What did Mama say? What do people say around you?
Everyone.
Friends, what they say?
Yeah, I know they're great. They're very supportive,
cool,
you know.
cool.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, they keep me in check. You know,
Cool.
let me know
All
if
right.
I'm getting crazy.
Cool. Well, I know that you got to go, but it seems like working with Jay-Z, is he sort of like a father figure to you?
Definitely. More of like a big brother.
More,
you know?
yeah.
He's very protective.
Yeah.
But he gives me great advice.
Good.
It's great working with him too.
She chopped off her blonde for a shorter haircut and changed from demure soft to gothic looks, a clear differentiation from her label mates and every other person she's ever been compared to. Her next album, Good Girls Gone Bad, had new songs that suited her new mood and personality: Russian Roulette, Umbrella, and Shut Up and Drive. She was no longer a pop princess waiting patiently in the shadows for the next Beyoncé title. She was no longer everyone else's. She was Rihanna. She had to be reborn, take it or leave it. The world loved it. Her single Umbrella stayed #1 in the Billboard charts for 11 weeks. Good Girl Gone Bad laid the foundation for Rihanna to become one of the best-selling artists of the decade, but Rihanna had to push and sponsor the album herself since the label had lost faith in her. Patricia Williams, Rihanna's financial advisor, fired for financial misappropriation, revealed how Rihanna had to sponsor most of these projects with her own money because the label Def Jam did not believe in her. According to Williams, Def Jam didn't fund Rihanna properly, so manager Mark used the money Rihanna makes from third-party endorsements and from tours to fund her albums and music videos. Rihanna had been sponsored by the likes of JCPenney, Samsung, CoverGirl, Secret, Venus, Breeze, etc. All the money she made from touring with the Pussycat Dolls and Kanye West was saved up to support her album. Her manager Mark Jordan was very instrumental to her success and negotiated affordable deals for her videos or simply low-budget videos. According to Rihanna's ex-financial manager, Rihanna sponsored most of the songs on the album: Shut Up and Drive, Don't Stop the Music, Umbrella, and Disturbia. At the end of it all, the album was a colossal success, but Rihanna was left bankrupt. In early 2007, Rihanna began working on her third studio album. In an interview with MTV News, she announced that the new music is going in a different direction, not on purpose, but I just want to hear something fresh and mostly up-tempo. I think that's where I want to go with this one. You feel different every album, and at this stage, I feel like I want to do a lot of up-tempo songs. That same year, Rihanna dismissed her innocent image for an edgier look with a new hairstyle, which was inspired by the actress Charlize Theron's bob cut in the 2005 sci-fi thriller Aeon Flux. Rihanna explained that she wanted to keep the audience dancing and be soulful at the same time. She sought to make an album that people would listen to without skipping tracks. She cited Aphrodisiacs, the fourth studio album by American singer Brandy Norwood, as her main inspiration for the album. In May 2007, Rihanna revealed she called the album Good Girl Gone Bad because it represents her bolder and more independent image. I'm not the innocent Rihanna anymore, she says. I'm taking a lot more risk and chances. I felt when I cut my hair, it shows people I'm not trying to look or be anybody else. The album is very edgy. Good Girl Gone Bad was recorded in Westlink Recording Studios and Conway Studios in Los Angeles, Battery Studios and Rock the Mic Studios in New York City, Chicago Recording Company and Pressure Studios in Chicago. American producers Tricky Stewart and The Dream had written the track Umbrella in 2007 with pop singer Britney Spears in mind. Her label rejected the song before she could hear it, stating they had enough songs for her to record. At the time, Spears was working on her fifth studio album, Blackout. The producers then reached out to Mary J. Blige, who did not have the time to consider the song for her next album. Finally, L.A. Reid, then CEO of Def Jam Recordings, brought the record and forwarded it to Rihanna. Initially, Stewart was unsure whether Rihanna was the right artist for the song, but after they recorded the Ella Ella catchphrase for the track, he felt optimistic. Jay-Z added rap vocals. Stewart also co-wrote and produced Breaking Dishes with Nash. Rehab, Sell Me Candy, and Let Me Get That were composed and produced by Timbaland for the album. He was on Future Sex Love Show concert tour with Justin Timberlake to promote Timberlake's 2006 album. After a show in Chicago, they joined Rihanna in the studio where Timberlake experimented with beats and melodies. Weeks later, the three met in New York City where Timberlake had conceptualized a song for Rihanna. Timbaland, who penned a song for Rihanna under the title Rehab, was producing a beat over which Timberlake improvised his lyrics. Rehab also is one of my favorite Rihanna songs. It puts me in an Amy Winehouse mindset. Cannon Lake also co-wrote and co-produced the song. Timberlake told Entertainment Weekly he believed Rehab to be the bridge for Rihanna to be accepted as an adult in the music industry. Rihanna told Robert Copsey of The Digital Spy that she enjoyed working with Timberlake and learned much from the sessions. A dance pop, and R&B influenced by 1980s music, Good Girl Gone Bad is a departure from the Caribbean sound of Rihanna's previous two records. Lyrically, the album is close to some teen pop records where sexualism and consumerism supersedes personal connection. The LP opens with the lead single Umbrella, an R&B song performed with drums and thundercloud synths. The Guardian compared the single's vocals to the voices of Ciara and Cassie. The second track, Push Up On Me, features echo, electro claps, and surging synths. Don't Stop the Music is a dance pop and techno song that contains rhythmic devices mainly used in hip-hop music. The song samples the line Mama Say Mama Sa Mamakusa from Michael Jackson's 1983 single Wanna Be Startin' Something. The fourth song is Breaking Dishes. Peter Robinson of The Observer called it a wronged woman bonanza packed with hooks, chants, and flashes of lyrical brilliance. Shut Up and Drive is a new wave and pop rock song influenced by 1970s and 1980s musical styles, sampling New Order's 1983 single Blue Monday, and is actually one of my favorite songs on the album. The collaboration with Neo, Hate That I Love You, is a folksy R&B song. Nick Levin of Digital Spy compared it to Neo's singles Sexy Love and Because of You. The seventh track on the album, Say It, samples the 1990 song Flex by Mad Cobra. It consists of silky and warm grooves and features island-oriented music characteristics. Sell Me Candy features jumbled and noisy production with chaotic beats. The ninth song, Let Me Get That, has boom bap beats and is produced by Timbaland. Rehab is an old-style R&B track with a groove that is built around tambourine shakes, acoustic guitar swirls, and sublet backbeats. Doug Rule of Metro Weekly noted similarities among the structures of Rehab and Timberlake's 2002 single, Cry Me a River. Question Existing is eerily smoky, destitute, emotional, and a sonic sidestep. The album concludes with the track Good Girl Gone Bad, which is played with an acoustic guitar and click tracks. Disturbia, which is on the Reloaded edition, is an up-tempo dance pop and electro-pop song with sizzling beats. Lyrically, the song is about experiencing of anguish, anxiety, and confusion. The song received positive reviews from music critics, who generally praised its dark musical tone, lyrics, and beat, and noted that it's reminiscent of Rihanna's previous single, Don't Stop the Music. Disturbia earned Rihanna an award for Best International Song at the 2009 NRJ Music Awards, and a nomination for Best Dance Recording at the 2009 Grammy Awards. The video is absolutely amazing if you've never seen it, which you probably have. Good Girl Gone Bad received generally favorable reviews from music critics. At Metacritic, which assigns normalized ratings out of 100 to reviews from mainstream critics, the album received an average score of 72 based on 17 reviews. Uncut called it a shiny transatlantic blend of Europop vim, R&B grit, and Caribbean bounce. AllMusic deemed it quintessential pop music and said each of its tracks was a potential hit. Pop Matters praised the album, describing it as more raw, perhaps edgier, and more risque than Rihanna's previous material. The New York Times wrote the album sounds as if it were scientifically engineered to deliver hits. The Observer commended her collaborators for making her own shortcomings and commented that while Rihanna lacks her peers' charisma, she has a great vessel for exhilarating mainstream pop. Pitchfork Media found the album varied and satisfying. Entertainment Weekly felt that although it goes bad when Rihanna tries her hand at ballads and glum sentiment, at times Good Girl Gone Bad is a thrilling throwback to more than a decade ago when upstart producers haphazardly mashed R&B and hip-hop to create chunky Jeep anthems such as Mary J. Blige's Real Love. In a mixed review, The Village Voice felt that the album never settles on a sound and only cites in 3 Timbaland-produced songs as highlights. Although he found the ballads to be improvements from Rihanna's previous albums, Slant Magazine criticized the lyrics, particularly those written by Justin Timberlake, as an Achilles high heel for Rihanna. The Guardian found Rihanna to be ill-suited for its dance pop songs and stated the gimmicky samples and pounding beats bury her personality, and the summery reggae reggae of her first 2 albums is sorely missed. MSN Music cited Umbrella as a choice cut, indicating a good song on an album that isn't worth your time or money. According to Biography.com, Good Girls Gone Bad inspired Rihanna to transform her image from a teen pop princess persona into a full-fledged superstar and sex symbol. People magazine noted that Rihanna followed the likes of recording artists such as Mariah Carey, Janet Jackson, and Christina Aguilera. Jay-Z also spoke about Umbrella, stated that the song represents an artistic growth for Rihanna. If you listen to the lyrics to that song, you know the depth of how far she's come. Billboard commented on Good Girl Gone Bad impact for Rihanna's career on the 10th anniversary of the album's release. Good Girls Gone Bad era became a universally recognized moment where Riri solidified her position as an international superstar. Her signature bob haircut and newly seductive stage persona captivating fans and the press. Regarding the commercial impact of the album, Entertainment Weekly wrote, "For a pop star who was once dismissed as being incapable of yielding more than one hit song per album, Rihanna's newfound staying power is nothing short of remarkable, and proof that there's room for more than one diva in this game." AllMusic concluded that it was Good Girls Gone Bad that made Rihanna a full-fledged international pop star with regular presence atop the charts. The Digital Spy described the album as the closest thing to a thriller that 2007 to 2008 is likely to produce. Good Girl Gone Bad essentially birthed the Rihanna we all know and love, and with her next album, Rated R, she matured and polished these images and began to build the foundation for her own cultural legacy through music. Join me in the next episode where we get Rated R as we see the real unedited Rihanna for the first time. Peace out.
It's a mixture of soy milk, regular milk, Coca-Cola, and a pineapple. To curdle and chocolate. Oh. Alright, so here we go, Eric.
So, to set the scene for this era in Rihanna's career, we have to understand Rihanna's state of mind releasing her 4th studio album, Rated R. The astronomical success of Good Girl Gone Bad propelled Rihanna to legendary status seemingly overnight. With so much success at such a young age, Rihanna unfortunately had to do her maturing in the public light. Not only did she have to mature in the public light, she also had to deal with her first love as well, and first heartbreak. Up until her relationship with R&B singer Chris Brown, Rihanna was perceived as this innocent teen pop princess, not unlike many other young pop stars, such as Britney Spears. It's protocol for young pop singers to assume this role, usually in order to escape the stigma that, to be honest, is rooted in misogyny and patriarchal values. These pop princesses either have to release a controversial body of work that warps public perception of them, or have an incident happen in real life that thrusts them into scandal, the latter of which happened to Rihanna, unfortunately. Rihanna and Chris Brown were fresh new artists, and their union made them Hollywood royalty. Paparazzi was on their every move, and they both knew this and tried their best to keep their relationship private. In abusive situations, the toxicity will always shine through, eventually, and it did, but not at the best time. It's a sad but well-documented truth that those who grow up surrounded by domestic violence will sometimes replicate the same destructive patterns later in life. Also, those who grow up surrounded by violence tend to not see it or ignore the warning signs clear enough to leave. Both Rihanna and Chris Brown grew up in abusive households, and I feel like when I was revisiting this incident, I can't help but to correlate their relationship with their experiences seeing unhealthy love as children. Brown was raised surrounded by domestic violence. His stepfather allegedly abused his mother, and Rihanna's father was abusive to her mother. Ironically, in 2006, Brown told MTV that the abuse was an influence in him about how to treat women. He also stated, "I used to always feel the hate for anybody that disrespected a lady." Typical abuser rhetoric, and we don't sympathize with abusers on this channel. Chris Brown has not really changed, and this was only the beginning of his abusive track record with women. So now let's get to the backstory.
Chris Brown set to appear in court this morning to face charges from that alleged beating of his girlfriend Rihanna. We have an exclusive look at the police report from that night. Suzanne is at the courthouse right now. Suzanne, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. As you mentioned, all of this information coming from the detective's report. Apparently, the fight started with a text message, escalated to punching and biting. At one point, Rihanna tries to call her assistant. She doesn't get through, but she says into the phone, "Call the police. I want them there when I get home." Brown hears this, and that's when he allegedly threatens to kill her.
On February 8th, 2009, 19-year-old singer, not 17, Chris Brown, was arrested for alleged domestic violence and felony battery against Rihanna. The incident led to the cancellation of both their Grammy performances that following Sunday. Brown and Rihanna reportedly began fighting in Brown's rented Lamborghini when Brown received a text message from another woman leaving Clive Davis's pre-Grammy party late Saturday. Brown pulled over the car in LA's Hancock Park neighborhood, and an upset Rihanna is said to have tossed the keys out the window. A source close to the investigation who spoke with E! News said that Brown responded by choking and threatening to unalive the pop star before she lost consciousness. A neighbor hearing a woman's screams made a call to 911, and the police arrived to find an injured Rihanna left alone at the scene. They took photos to document the singer's injuries, which were described as horrific. The images are very graphic, so I'm not going to show them here. She was taken to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center for treatment, and Brown later turned himself into the LAPD and was charged with making a criminal threat. He was released on a $50,000 bail.
Your husband, Jay-Z, had a lot to do with Rihanna's early career. And back in February, he said he thought everyone should support her in that mess with Chris Brown. How do you feel about that whole thing?
Well, I think she's doing a lot better. She is such a very talented woman and very smart. And I think it's really important in those times of need that people give people their privacy. So all you can do is pray and leave it up to the people around her and her to make great decisions, and she has and she will, and I'm here to support her as well as all of my family. She's like family to me, and all of Jay and all of my family.
Since this incident, sources have come forward alleging that this was not the first time that Brown abused Rihanna. A source identified as a friend of Rihanna described the pair's relationship as volatile to US Weekly and added that the bruises were clearly visible on the singer's neck in early December. She said, "I asked if everything was okay with her and Chris, and she told me we broke up again." Life and Style magazine have reported that Brown's temper has manifested itself in violent ways in the past, claiming that a fight between the singer and his mom that took place in a Miami hotel in 2007 saw Brown screaming and throwing dishes, which prompted concerned hotel guests to call the police. Brown's sister had spoken to Extra in his defense, describing him as a good boy, never violent, and added that he's doing good, he's coping. Rihanna's grandmother, meanwhile, told Barbados' leading newspaper, The Daily Nation, "I don't want people to worry, Rihanna is fine and she's doing well." The incident also sent shockwaves through the hip-hop community. A source told US Weekly that upon hearing the news, rapper Jay-Z quote-unquote hit the roof, and that Brown was now a quote-unquote walking dead man as a result. I wonder what happened to all that rage, because to my knowledge, Jay-Z has been in environments with Chris Brown in the present day. I guess it was all handled behind the scenes. Self-proclaimed big brother to Rihanna, Kanye West has openly talked about being devastated by the affair and praised the singer's talent to Ryan Seacrest on his radio show. He's quoted as saying, "I feel like she is the most important artist in music and has the potential, her taste level and her age, she has the potential to be the greatest artist of all time." Despite being thrown into a media whirlwind following a highly publicized domestic violence incident with then boyfriend Chris Brown, Rihanna boldly faced the trauma and redefined her artistic identity through her fourth album, Rated R. In tracks like Hard, the third track on her fourth album, Rihanna confidently declares her reign that just won't let up. In fact, it just began. This album is one of her most personal, filled with raw, uncomfortable honesty that comes off almost like a declaration of war. Rihanna channels various emotions such as vitriol, revenge, faith, and freedom, ultimately birthing her bad gal persona. Rated R finds Rihanna navigating how to move on from a highly publicized and personal moment while still showcasing vulnerability through ballads such as Stupid in Love and Photographs. She also asserts her strength and resilience on tracks like Rockstar 101 and Hard. Despite her tough exterior, Rihanna still managed to craft hits such as Rude Boy and Te Amo while remaining true to her identity. What makes this album different from the ones that have come before is that this album is a real peek into Rihanna's mind, mainly because before this album, she had little to no writing credits on most of her music.
To L.A. Reid about this album, he's executive producing this, and he said he's giving you hit records, and you knew their hits, and he knew their hits, and you said, "Nope, that's not my vision." So clearly, you had a lot of say in what's happening with this album.
Yeah, because I guess the last album, it really worked, but I didn't want to repeat myself. I didn't think that was true artistry, and I paid attention to it a lot more musically and lyrically, because I did help pen most of the songs, and I just didn't want a hit. Anybody can make a hit, but I wanted a real album with true music, real deep lyrics, clever lyrics, and they are hits too. So we wanted to make great songs, but with great meaning.
Sure, Good Girl Gone Bad gave us an aesthetic change, but the true depth of Rihanna's person was released in this album. Co-writing most of the songs, this album was a different tone and direction and set the stage for the Rihanna we all know and love today, the raw, unfiltered bad gal.
I wasn't leaving the studio without the album.
In an interview with MTV News, regular Rihanna collaborator Ne-Yo clarified that he would not write songs for Rihanna about Brown because he considered the idea unnecessary. Producer Chuck Harmony mused that no matter what song Rihanna released as the lead single, it would immediately be looked at as a song about Brown. During an interview at the MTV Video Music Awards, Ne-Yo stated that the listeners should expect an edgier and angrier Rihanna on this album. He told In Touch Weekly that the album is definitely more edgier than Rihanna's previous work, describing the album as liberated. American singer Akon, on the other hand, stated that he was going to lighten her up and did not want an angry Rihanna. With the success of her last album, Rihanna just wanted to make sure that she did not fall into one sound or vibe. At the Justin Timberlake and Friends concert in Las Vegas, Timberlake told MTV News that Rated R is a new sound and that the new material significantly differs from her last album. Timberlake explained she broke onto the scene so hard with the last record. To have that many songs on the charts is impressive. I think that the smartest thing she's doing is not trying to emulate what she did, but move forward. After release of the lead single Russian Roulette, Harmony was aware of the mixed reactions from fans who had heard the track. He assured fans that the song was not fully representative to the rest of the album, though it reflected Rihanna's growth as an artist. In an interview with Wrap Up, Tricky Stewart announced that he had collaborated with The Dream on the project and said that the album is different from her past works. In February 2010, Rihanna expressed a positive opinion on the album, but commented that her future work would be less intense. She asserted, "I really like the bottom, the grime of it, but if I were to combine that with more energetic up-tempo records, then I think that would be a happy marriage, and that's where we'll probably go next." Rihanna began recording songs for the album in March 2009. The recording sessions for the album took place at various studios in London and New York City. Rihanna worked with several different songwriters and producers on the album, including Chuck Harmony, The Dream, Tricky Stewart, Chase and Status, Stargate, Demo, and Justin Timberlake. Rihanna wanted the album to be less influenced by synth pop, attempting to avoid the light-hearted commercial pop of her previous albums and by her peers. By doing so, she incorporated a production style with more bass and utilized gothic imagery. In the early stages of the production, she worked with Adonis Shropshire, who stated that Rihanna had brainstormed a large number of ideas over the course of a few weeks. Rihanna also worked with Norwegian producer duo Stargate, who said that the collaboration was very rewarding and inspiring for them, commenting, "I don't think we should talk about titles just yet. We don't really know which songs are going to make it, but it feels exciting." It was later revealed that Stargate originally produced a collaboration between Rihanna and Canadian rapper Drake. However, the song did not make the final cut for the album. Rihanna was involved with writing most of the lyrics on the album, with the help of Timberlake and Ne-Yo, who helped the singer to translate her emotions into songs. She worked with Ne-Yo on a number of songs, although he was often unclear as to which songs would actually make the album. While working together, he felt that Rihanna was not the same girl as the one he worked with a few years before, complementing her growth musically. In terms of musical direction, Rihanna requested more somber songs for the album. Ne-Yo and Harmony co-wrote Russian Roulette, pushing a darker and more morbid aesthetic. After listening to the track Saxon, performed by Nicki Minaj and production duo Chase and Status, Rihanna got in contact with the latter.
Saxon pass, you know ready?
I am good going hard. I am good going hard. I am good going hard. I shut it down already. I am good going hard. I am good going hard. I am good going hard.
And wanted to collaborate. Chase and Status had a pair of sessions with Rihanna and worked together for a few weeks in an undisclosed location. The songs they worked on had big beats and big bass, although Rihanna had some disagreements with the duo. In October 2009, she concluded recording sessions with Tricky Stewart and The Dream. Dream and Tricky flew out to Paris and played a few songs for Rihanna, which included Hard and Rockstar. She felt that Hard stood out from all the songs due to its arrogance. It's also one of my personal favorites off the album. In the song Rockstar 101, another personal favorite of mine, guitarist Slash contributes a bass guitar on a track, while Photographs is a duet with singer-songwriter will.i.am. In addition, Esther Dean co-wrote Rude Boy. The last song was one of the last tracks crafted for the album. Rihanna recorded the song within the final 12 hours of the album's conception. When the label said that we had 12 hours to turn in the album, I was like, okay, I have to do it. I just drank some red wine, dimmed the lights, got into the booth, and sang it, she explained. Rated R features a dark and more foreboding tone than Rihanna's previous albums. Primarily a pop, hip-hop, and R&B album, it also incorporates musical elements of rock music. The album's production is typified by sleek sounds and incorporates ominous synthesizers, intertwining guitar licks, tense beats, minor key melodies, and polyrhythmic vocal harmonies. Songs such as G4L, Madhouse, and Wait Your Turn incorporate elements of dubstep, including brooding synths and grumbling bass lines. This album is very 2010 sounding. The album also incorporates other musical genres such as dancehall and the Jamaican-inspired Rude Boy and Latin music infusion in Te Amo. Rihanna discussed the musical direction of the project in an interview for Glamour magazine, stating, "The songs are really personal. It's rock and roll, but it's really hip-hop. If Lil Wayne and Kings of Leon like my album, then I feel good." In my opinion, Rude Boy doesn't really make sense in respect to the other tracks. I love the song. I feel like it would be more appropriate on her next album, Loud, because of its lighter and more colorful vibe, especially in the music video. The lyrical content on the album features generally bleak views on love and boastful lyrics concerning perseverance and overcoming adversity. Its lyrics are characterized by grim and angry tones, and songs that contain boastful and persevering themes are characterized by images of violence and brutality. While journalists of Los Angeles Times Slant magazine and The Village Voice perceived its lyrics as allusions to Rihanna's assault by Chris Brown, John Perels of the New York Times wrote that the album doesn't specifically address those events, but it hardly ignores them. According to Powers, regret is a significant theme on the album. The songs on Rated R never have their singer apologize for the man who seriously wronged her, but they do acknowledge the other emotions that come with separation, even from a partner who's also the perpetrator. Those feelings include regret, tenderness, and deep sadness. The album art for Rated R was conceptualized and executed by German fashion photographer Ellen von Unwerth. Also shot other album covers such as The Velvet Rope by Janet Jackson, Back to the Basics by Christina Aguilera, and Blackout by Britney Spears. He mentioned that Rihanna was fantastic to work with, very giving, very creative, very involved in every aspect of the shoot, and ready to push the boundaries. The album cover was released on October 27, 2009, and features Rihanna in a melancholy, contemplative pose wearing a leather top with her hand covering her right eye, and each finger wrapped in an intrinsic set of rings. The Illuminati conspiracy were all over this image. The black and white cover was compared to the 1980s album covers by singer Grace Jones. The brand and styling of Rated R was conceived by British artist and director Simon Henwood. Henwood revealed in an interview with Miu Muse, saying, "We spent a lot of time developing ideas. We went to Paris for Fashion Week, met with designers, and sat and made drawings and designs together for the photo shoot and costume pieces, etc. Everything comes from the music, and this is her most personal album to date, so everything draws from it one way or another." For the visual creation of the era, Henwood took inspiration from the film Omega Man and the book The Laugh of Heaven. He wanted to create her world that was personal. The whole thing was a dark dream, a chance for herself to express all the things without being specific or literal. Henwood also conceived the look and feel of the album's artwork, videos, and TV spots, and also contributed to Rihanna's Last Girl on Earth tour, including the show's stage design, costumes, and background visuals. On October 13, 2009, Rihanna released a statement along with a picture of a metal R on her official website saying, "The wait is over, November 23rd, 2009, alluding to the release date for Rated R. A couple days later, a countdown timer appeared on her official website and was scheduled to end on October 20th, 2009. After the timer ended, Russian Roulette premiered on BBC Radio, the singer's official website, and on American radio stations. On October 16th, Rihanna shot a music video for Wait Your Turn in Washington Heights, New York City. It premiered on her official website on November 3rd, 2009. A snippet of the song with the title The Wait is Over also appeared as the background music for a promotional video of the album. On November 5th, 2009, Rihanna's first televised interview since her altercation with Brown aired on Good Morning America in support of the album.
I am strong. This happened to me. I didn't cause this. I didn't do it. This happened to me, and it can happen to anybody. There are a lot of women who've experienced what I did, but not in the public. So it made it really difficult. I just felt like, oh my God, here goes my little bit of privacy just exposed. Like, it's something that nobody wants anybody to know. So here I am, the whole world knowing.
Why be ashamed?
Because I didn't want people to think that that's the kind of person I fell in love with that person. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing that that's the type of person that I fell in love with. So far in love. So unconditional that I went back.
On average, I think it takes a woman 7 times before she leaves.
8 or 9, actually. And I don't want that to happen. That's not what I want to teach people. But again, people, I'm a human being, and people put me on a very unrealistic pedestal, and all these expectations. I'm not perfect. Also, it's pretty natural for that to be the first reaction. It's completely normal to go back. You start lying to yourself. The minute the physical wounds go away, you want this thing to go away. This is a memory you don't want to have ever again.
Tomorrow she will tell us what happened that left her so bloody, bruised, battered, and why she went back, and what other girls she hopes will hear.
When I realized that my selfish decision for love could result into some young girl getting killed, I could not be easy with that part. I couldn't be held responsible for telling them go back. Chris, even if Chris never hit me again, who's to say that their boyfriend won't? Who's to say that they won't kill these girls? And these are young girls, and I just didn't realize how much of an impact I had on these girls' lives until that happened. It was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call for me, big time. Especially when I took myself out of the situation. And I'll say that to any young girl who's going through domestic violence. Don't react off of love. F love. To come out of the situation and look at it third person and for what it really is, and then make your decision, because love is so blind. Because it was a roller coaster for me emotionally, and it's documented on it. Because as I said, every day I went in the studio, I didn't feel the same. Some days I was angry, some days I was sad, some days I felt like talking about sex, some days I just felt like being cocky, and so they're different moods. So I would never say it's an angry album. There's definitely some angry songs, some songs that a feeling of wanting to have revenge. There are those songs there.
Even down to her energy in interviews, we see a rebirth in Rihanna's artistic confidence and how she feels as a growing woman. She was very proud of this album. In more ways than not, the album was Rihanna's control, her declaration of independence from Brown, and her taking charge of a narrative that had turned her into a victim, rocking a new attitude, swag, and edginess. This was a good girl gone badass. That could be heard right away on the Nightmare Core opener, Madhouse, which welcomes you into the madness that her life had become. Even in just a minute and a half, it's clear that it's about to get real. Then on Pimp Strolling, Wait Your Turn, Rihanna doesn't waste any time, a not-so-veiled reference to her domestic violence incident, I pitch with a grenade, swing away if you're feeling brave. She sings clearly, itching to swing back. It's on Hard, the third track and second single, that the new Rihanna truly emerges, stronger and tougher. The hottest beat in heels, which she just might step on the girls' necks with. She wants to let the girls know, with this anthem, that she's here to stay, and that she isn't going anywhere anytime soon. No fear, and while you're getting your cry on, I'm getting my fly on, she boasts over a menacing G-Funk groove. She hardly needs Jeezy, with her essentially owning the entire song, It's here that you can see the boss that Rihanna was destined to become. She keeps up the gangsta moves on tracks like G4L, which stands for Gangsta for Life, and Rockstar 101, which cranks up the guitars in the hip-hop braggadocio. I absolutely love when Rihanna incorporates alternative rock elements into her music projects because she has the voice that melds perfectly with the genre. You don't really need to be the best vocalist to sing rock music. You just need to have the emotion, and she delivers the emotion full force on Rockstar 101. This song makes Rihanna's rock flirtation on Good Girl Gone Bad, Shut Up and Drive look like pure bubblegum. After having 0 writing credits on 2007's Good Girl Gone Bad, Rihanna had hand penning 9 of the 13 tracks on Rated R, and tunes like Firebomb, about a combustible relationship that is ready to blow, are no doubt fueled by her personal experiences. Even songs that Rihanna didn't write at all feel like they came straight from her life. The piano ballad Stupid in Love, written and produced by Neo and Stargate, is all bruised emotion seemingly aimed at Brown. Elsewhere, Russian Roulette, another Neo collaboration, and the Justin Timberlake co-write Cold Case Love explore the dark, dangerous places that the heart can take you. Oddly enough, Rude Boy, the biggest single from Rated R, is an outlier here. It's a bumping dancehall jam on which Rihanna admits her thing for Bad Boys, asking, "Can you get it up? And is you big enough?" It feels as if the song was added to increase the commercial appeal of the album, which it probably was, and it did just that, hitting #1 on the Hot 100. But more than delivering another chart-topping single, Rated R showed that Rihanna was a serious artist and in it for the long run. The album Rated R by Rihanna received positive reviews from music critics, with an average score of 75 on Metacritic. Rolling Stone called it one of the year's best pop albums, while the Chicago Tribune praised it as powerful and moving art. The Los Angeles Times called it a complex and fascinating portrait of an abused woman's emotional range and resolve. However, some critics like the AV Club had mixed reviews, finding the album not suitable for Rihanna's ballad-based strengths, and some viewing the music as bloated. Despite criticism, the album was included in 3 top 10 albums lists by critics for 2009, and was named the best pop album of the year by Entertainment. Rated R debuted at #4 on the US Billboard 200 chart, with its first week sales at over 180,000 copies in the country. It topped the US top R&B hip-hop albums chart and became her first #1 on the chart. The album was certified 2 times platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America and had sold over 1 million copies in the US as of June 2015. The album also received certifications from other countries, including Music Canada. Overall, Rated R is Rihanna's rebel yell, where she dismisses any mainstream appeal left over from her previous releases and sets the tone for future albums when she continues to experiment with various genres and share her most intimate thoughts without fear of criticism. Rihanna's tenacity in telling her own story is what makes her the legendary pop icon we know and love. Now that Rihanna essentially released a catharsis of negative emotion with Rated R, we can see in her following projects that she is now reborn into a new Rihanna. But for the next project, she wanted to revamp her image again to suit this new season in her life she was entering. This Rihanna is loud, carefree, and seductive. Join me in the next episode where I dive into the iconic Loud era, my personal favorite. Peace out. The year 2011 was a very great year for pop music. With explosive hits being released left and right, it seemed like all the pop girls in the industry, and some men, were in this competition to deliver the magical escapism that EDM dance music is known for. For millennials entering adulthood during the aftermath of the 2008 recession, there was this deep desire to escape from one's circumstances, to be in eternal party mode. And this was very much so reflected in the culture of the early 2010s, and the music from this era, also the fashion. Just take a look at the top Billboard hits of 2011. Literally only 2 of them are slow tempo songs, Adele's Rolling in the Deep and Bruno Mars' Catch a Grenade. Other than that, it was all electro dance pop music, which exploded into popularity with its origins being linked to the dubstep movement popularized by artists like Skrillex and David Guetta, circa 2009-2010. This was a world away from the pop music today, which has become deeper, grittier, and more somber over the years. With the popularity of electro dance pop music taking over airwaves, suddenly there were new opportunities for vocalists who could deliver potent hooks, perfectly primed for the drop. Some singers were more excited than others about this prospect. Beyoncé famously went against the grain, releasing her 4th studio album, 4, which was an R&B album to stand out from the synthesized beats of electro pop. I believe there's only 1 song on that album with some remnants of that sound, which can be found on Run the World Girls. which I believe is the highest charting song off that album, if I'm correct. Nicki Minaj also released an entire pop album based on this sound, and since her debut with Pink Friday, she has dabbled in EDM with her collaborations with David Guetta and other electronic producers. Also, Sia famously hated Titanium, her 2011 collaboration with Guetta, calling it a cheesy pop house song, albeit one that breathed new life into her career. Electro-pop artists like Ellie Goulding and LaRue didn't have to directly participate to benefit. They found entirely new fan bases through EDM producers remixing their music, pairing their voices with face-melting bass drops. Rihanna was no different, especially when she released Loud, which is her first real artistic deep dive into the genre. This era in pop music is truly frozen in time. By 2011, electropop was everywhere and inescapable. That same year, Taylor Swift dove headfirst into her first true pop phase with Red, and its third single, I Knew You Were Trouble, whose dubstep-inspired drop proved as awkward as it was commercially successful. In my opinion, Rihanna's decision to fully immerse her sound and aesthetic to match the EDM rave culture of the early 2010s with Loud and Talk That Talk is what took her music career to astronomical heights and keeps her music relevant till this day. When people think of Rihanna, besides Umbrella, I think most people associate her with the iconic hits on Loud and Talk That Talk. In this video, we're going to revisit the time when Rihanna was the reigning queen of pop EDM. Rihanna, being a black girl making music like this, is actually what inspires me in my own music journey as an artist who primarily makes dance music. Rave culture and club culture in general is often looked at through a very whitewashed lens, and I feel like Rihanna was the first mainstream representation of a black girl being in that environment for me. Even if it was only vaguely referenced, I was obsessed with the eclectic hairstyles and edgy persona Rihanna embodied during this era. Now let's get started. Rihanna is one of those artists who, despite not being directly credited for penning her hits, her talent comes from the big idea that she is able to seemingly execute effortlessly.
In the beginning, I mean, it was all very light music in terms of the lyrics. The depth of it was very lighthearted, you know, really sweet. And the look was also, it also matched that sound, you know, the look was very innocent. And the second album was kind of the same, but we started making, you know, different type of songs and trying new things. And then the third album was just, it was finally where I felt the most confident to just take over, and I just wanted to get out of doing the typical long, beautiful hair that's brown or blonde. I just wanted something that was just completely different. I wanted people to notice Rihanna as a different artist and not just, I didn't want to get hidden within the pack, and I wanted to stand out. And I knew the only way that I could do that is by being myself, being true to myself, expressing myself truthfully, whether it's the look or the sound of the music. It all changed then. And then from there, we just started having fun. Every time I made an album since Good Girl Gone Bad, it's just been whatever was in my body at that moment, whatever I was feeling, whatever mood I was in, that's always what you'll get.
Despite what haters may say, Rihanna is no brainless pop robot, easily influenced by those around her. She was very much aware of the message and vibe she wanted to get across in her albums after Good Girl Gone Bad. I feel like the writing is of course important, but just because she's not penning every song does not discount her talent as an entertainer. At the end of the day, being a music artist is demanding, and not many artists have the luxury of sitting around writing all day. So enough with the slick comments about Rihanna not writing, because 9 times out of 10, your fave hires writers for their projects, and are just not telling you about it. I never see anyone under Britney Spears or Madonna's videos saying she doesn't write, so they're not worthy of their flowers either. So check your anti-blackness. Thanks. So moving on, I felt that Rihanna, after the serious tone of Rated R and the drama that ensued between her and her ex-boyfriend Chris Brown, she wanted to do another 180 and completely surprise and shock people with her next project. Rated R features a darker and more foreboding tone, and it incorporates musical elements of rock music primarily. Pop Matters magazine noted influences of techno, hard rock, disco, and pop punk in the album. The album's production is typified by sleek sounds and incorporates ominous synthesizers. If Rated R was the thunderstorm, Loud would be the euphoric rainbow that comes after. Rated R Rihanna was aggressive and angry. She was the product of a broken relationship, one that took some time for her to heal from. Loud represents that healing, and Rihanna's attempt at moving forward artistically and just in life in general. Loud was a rebrand of some sorts. When you think of Loud, your mind of course pictures the iconic cherry-colored hair, which serves as the base of the entire vibe of the project. In 2023, it's hard for me to think that a hair color change would cause such a commotion. Rarely does hair color change warrant so much attention, but this was by design.
Wow. It was so beautiful, like it was the perfect combination of what I wanted. I wanted color, but I didn't want it to be overly saturated. I wanted it to still feel natural and soft. And Camilla's work was perfect for that. I would say it's more lifestyle, very flirty, sassy, feminine. It'll always have an edge because I hate anything that's too feminine. But we just wanted to have something a little more like this, natural and not so put together and over-styled and overly shoulder padded out. We just wanted to have something that reflected me, and it wasn't all about what I was wearing.
Rihanna wanted people to know that this new hair, that she was entering her carefree era. She didn't want to take herself too seriously, and that reflected in the way she went about interviews, fashion looks, her tour, and performances. Loud was released on November 12, 2010, under the label Def Jam Recordings. The album was recorded from February to August 2010, while Rihanna was touring for her Last Girl on Earth tour and shooting for her first movie, Battleship, which was released in 2012. Rihanna served as the executive producer of the album and collaborated with various record producers such as Stargate, The Runners, Polo Da Don, Chicky Stewart, Alex da Kid, among others. The album also featured guest vocalists from Drake, Nicki Minaj, and Eminem, who featured in the sequel of Love the Way You Lie, named Love the Way You Lie Part 2, where Rihanna sang the lead vocals. Additionally, Britney Spears appeared on the remix of the single version of S&M, but not on the album version. During an interview with MTV, Neo, a producer for Rihanna's album, Rated R, stated that he would not write songs about Rihanna's ex-boyfriend Chris Brown. However, he did mention that Rihanna may experiment in a new style for her next album, when talking about Rated R, which could be edgier and angrier. Despite this, Rated R was a commercial success and included hits such as Rude Boy. After 6 months, Rihanna began planning her 5th studio album, which she promised would be more energetic than her previous works. Stargate's Tor Eric Hemerson revealed that Rihanna approached him before recording Only Girl in the World and expressed her desire to make happy, up-tempo songs. Sean Garrett compared the new tracks to Rihanna's past hits Umbrella and Rude Boy. In another interview with MTV, the vice president of Def Jam Recordings compared the upcoming Rihanna album to Michael Jackson's Thriller and expressed his confidence that every song on the album would be a hit, with no album fillers, which he was kind of correct.
Damn. Oh, this thing is cold.
I gotta go there.
We going all the way there. Alright. I got the best leather pants collection since the 80s. Oh. Yeah, man, come on, you can't even stand. You can't stand next to them boys. You need your top 4, man. Standing next to these boys, you gotta get right. That's why I'm about to tweet that. I had the best leather pants collection since the 80s.
We're now going to record Man Down. We're starting at 3 a.m. now because earlier we had like a little listening party. Kanye came down and played us some of his new album. And
the Ghetto University is going to be that single. But it's called All of the Lights now.
It's called what?
All of the Lights. All of the Lights.
You know, Jay and Beyonce, they came by and we were just listening to some music, and now it's time to get to work. So we're gonna do Man Down.
The album was recorded at various studios in Los Angeles, New York City, Miami, Las Vegas, and even Paris. Several songwriters and producers such as Tal Cruz, Alex the Kid, Sean Garrett, and David Guetta contributed to the album. Rihanna and L.A. Reid also gathered a team of songwriters and record producers in Los Angeles for 2 weeks to write songs for the album, resulting in approximately a whopping 200 songs, which 11 were included in the final album. 200 songs, guys. Rihanna also revealed during a web chat with her fan site that the album would be called Loud and described it as sassy, fun, flirty, and energetic, reflecting the album's overall attitude. She also mentioned that she did not want to go back and remake her 2007 album, Good Girl Gone Bad, but rather she wanted to take the next step in her evolution. While filming Battleship, Rihanna described the album, taking listeners on an interesting, colorful ride. Loud showcases a mix of fast-paced and pop genres, ranging from dance pop to electro R&B, and signals Rihanna's return to her dancehall roots that were evident in her earlier releases, Music of the Sun and Girl Like Me. Rihanna shared in an interview with MTV that she aimed to create songs that were uniquely hers, and not something that could be done by other pop stars like Kesha, Lady Gaga, or Katy Perry. She wanted her music to have a distinct West Indian vibe, a particular sass, and a specific energy that she can only bring to it. Rihanna explained that the inspiration for much of the music on Loud came from her frustration with bad club music, stating that she wanted to create an album that people could play without having to skip any tracks. The first track on the album, S&M, is an up-tempo Euro dance song produced by Norwegian producer Stargate and Sandy V. The song has been compared to Depeche Mode's 1984 Master and Servant and contains lyrics referencing sadomasochism. AllMusic praised S&M for successfully balancing Rihanna's playful and darker sides, while BBC Music criticized the song's use of sadomasochistic lyrics, which he believed did not match the flirtatious tone Rihanna was aiming for. S&M is my favorite Rihanna song, like ever. I've been screaming the lyrics to that song since elementary school. The lyrics are so playful and overall is probably one of Rihanna's best songs. Raining Men is a collaboration with Nicki Minaj, which was released as an urban radio single on December 7, 2010, and later became the third track from Loud to be released as a single in the United States. The song was re-released to urban radio on January 25, 2011, and peaked at number 48 on the US Billboard R&B and hip-hop charts. While some critics appreciate the chemistry between Rihanna and Nicki Minaj, others criticize the lack of originality in the song, as it failed to offer anything new. What's My Name, my second favorite Rihanna track, was produced by Stargate and features Canadian rapper Drake, who was a new and up-and-coming artist at the time. It is a mid-tempo electro R&B song that showcases Rihanna's return to her early island pop style, featuring a reggae-heavy backing track. Megan Vick of the Billboard commented that while the song is a collaboration, Rihanna's polished pop persona shines through. The video is also incredible and so simple. It puts me in New York City in the summertime and is such a vibe. The production team, The Runners, were responsible for creating the upbeat track Cheers, Drink to That, which features a catchy guitar groove perfect for the night out. Rihanna dedicated the song to all of those who enjoy drinking. The song also features a sample of Avril Lavigne's I'm With You. Only Girl, produced by Stargate, is a fast-paced dance pop song with Eurodance influences. A reviewer for Entertainment Weekly noted Rihanna's seductive vocals and compared it to more powerful and sexier versions of her previous hit, Don't Stop the Music.
We built an entire set of a home, an ocean, outside, narrowed it down, pulled it all together, and built it in a studio.
It's like intimate again in black and white, right? And then it starts to evolve and get bigger again, right? And then the beach gets smaller again. That's a fantasy moment between two people caught in a real space. And it's just all about light and the ethereal feeling and being in that middle ground with somebody where you don't know if you want to be with them or not.
Look at these abs.
Right here. Yeah. And the grass is like, we're going to have grasses, tall grasses and light.
I have to go home and sleep for 2 hours and be back at the same lot in the morning to shoot a...
California King Bed is a slow rock ballad, whereas Man Down is heavily influenced by reggae music. Ryan Dunbell of Pitchfork Media remarked that California King Bed is a typical power ballad meant for a romantic comedy movie starring Kate Hudson. John Perilous of the New York Times noted that in Man Down, Rihanna emphasizes her West Indian accent over the electro reggae beat, which tells a story about a man at Central Station who was the character in the video. The video is actually done very well and very well produced. The Runners produced California King Bed and Cheers, Drink to That, while Shama Joseph produced Man Down.
We are going to Johnstown.
started at, what, 4:20 a.m. Drove 3 hours to get here. Refresh my soul with a song.
Yes, because without your inspiration, I could never do what I do. Yes, Mr. Yes, Mr.
Yeah. I've always wanted to do a video here. Man Down is just a song you can't do anywhere else. It needs to be authentic. You can't get any realer than Jamaica.
Raining Men featuring Nicki Minaj is a fun, quirky song unlike the original. However, according to AllMusic, the R&B dancehall track is a low point on the album and sounds incomplete. And I kind of agree with that too. Raining Men is kind of like my least favorite song on the album, to be honest. Tricky Stewart and Esther Dean produced Complicated. Entertainment Weekly described the song as having a high-altitude house beat and Rihanna sounding almost buoyant, even while telling a man how difficult he is to love. The last track on the album is the sequence to Rihanna's duet with Eminem, Love the Way You Lie. Alex the Kid produced Love the Way You Lie Part 2, which features Rihanna as the protagonist and lead vocalist. Unlike the original, which was from a male perspective and featured Eminem as the lead vocalist, Love the Way You Lie Part 2 offers a female perspective on aspects of the relationship. On September 10, 2010, Rihanna's lead single from the album Only Girl in the World was released. The song was subsequently sent to mainstream and rhythmic radio on September 21, 2010. The song received rave reviews from music critics, with the chorus and dance beats being highly praised. The song reached the top spot on the US Billboard Hot 100 chart, as well as in several other countries, including the UK, Canada, Australia, and Italy. It also became one of Rihanna's most successful chart-topping singles. The song also won Best Dance Recording Award at the 53rd Grammy Awards on February 13, 2011, held at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. Loud was generally well received by contemporary music critics, with an average score of 67 out of 100 based on 22 reviews on Metacritic. Critics praised the album's pop gizmos, noting that it maintained the Rihanna brand. Jim Farber of New York Daily gave the album 4 out of 5 stars and noted that it seemed effortless and free. Entertainment Weekly stated that the album showed Rihanna undefeated by her worst circumstances and finding redemption in pop nirvana. The Boston Globe noted that the album was an unabashed return to the dance floor and that Rihanna was a force on these 11 songs. Stacey Anderson of The Spin commended Rihanna for owning her sexuality and praised the album for offering a confident female ethos that's on par with the best of Shakira, Jennifer Lopez, or Beyonce. According to BBC Online, Rihanna's album Loud is brilliantly sassy and exuberant at times, and her vocals elevate it from a hit and miss collection into something oddly arresting. The AV Club also praised Rihanna's performance on the album, saying that she sounds invigorated and delivers charismatic vocal performances, which is very on brand for this era. She wanted to be loud but not aggressive. The Los Angeles Times described the album as strobe thumping, while NME gave it 7 out of 10 rating and found it more organic and better paced than her previous album, Rated R. And I agree. Thomas Connor of the Chicago Sun-Times noted the celebratory atmosphere of the album's sassy new jams and its darker flavors. USA Today stated that the edgy music fits well with Rihanna's less than blissful romantic romps. There were some critics who had negative opinions of the album. AllMusic felt that the material was inconsistent and lacked focus, resulting in a collection of mediocre songs. The Phoenix gave the album a low rating, stating that its loudness did not add to anything significant to the music. The Washington Post found Rihanna's performance to be shallow and forgettable. The Independent believed that the more compelling tracks were the ones that did not rely on her vulnerability. Despite some production flaws, Slat Magazine appreciated the incorporation of West Indian influences and Rihanna's genre-defying style. The Observer found the album's sound to be ordinary, yet still enjoyable. Upon its release, Loud entered the US Billboard 200 chart at number 3 with 200,000 copies sold its first week, which marked Rihanna's highest first week sales in the United States. The album also debuted at number 1 on Billboard R&B and Hip Hop album charts. In the second week, the album dropped to number 6 on the Billboard 200, selling 100,000 copies. After its 13th week, the album returned to its peak position at number 3, selling over 60,000 copies, and then slipped to number 10 in its 14th week, with 45,000 copies sold. By its 15th week, Loud rose to number 8, selling an additional 30,000 copies in the United States. By September of that year, Loud had sold over 1.5 million copies in the United States and was certified platinum on January 25, 2011, for shipments of over 1 million. On the year-end charts, Loud ranked as Billboard magazine's 9th most successful album of 2011. As you can see, Loud was a massive commercial success. To promote her album, Rihanna went on a promotional tour across Europe and North America. She performed Only Girl in the World live for the first time in North America on Saturday Night Live on October 30th, 2010. Later, she debuted the second single, What's My Name, on the same show. Rihanna performed Only Girl in the World on various shows such as the X Factor in the UK and the Le Grand Journal in France. She also appeared on the Grand Norton Show in the UK, where she sang Only Girl in the World and gave an interview. On November 15th, before the album's release, Rihanna reprised her performance of What's My Name for MTV's The 7 line from Times Square in New York City. Rihanna performed A Melody of Love, The Way You Lie Part 2, What's My Name, and Only Girl in the World at the American Music Awards of 2010. Later on December 11, 2010, Rihanna returned to Series 7 of the UK's X Factor. She performed Unfaithful with the finalist Matt Cardle and a solo of What's My Name. However, her outfit and sexual performance generated thousands of complaints. Rihanna also performed What's My Name with Drake for the first time at the 53rd Annual Grammy Awards on February 13, 2011. Rihanna also appeared at the 2011 Brit Awards, where she performed S&M for the first time as a melody with Only Girl in the World and What's My Name. However, she was asked by the show's producer to tone down her performance of S&M, and she performed only one verse and chorus in between, Only Girl in the World and What's My Name. Rihanna was a special guest at the NBA All-Star Game on February 20th, 2011, where she performed a melody of her hit songs.
But after this, I feel like
that's where
that talk is where it gets interesting, where people start to look at
this
it.
Is what,
and then Drunk on Love is like, there's no way, no turning back. This is like,
payoff.
And that's what I feel
just
about,
in case you were doubting it.
What you're saying about Talk That Talk, to me, it's more of a different type of record. That's a record you put on your playlist if you playing it in your house.
While her peers were diving into more hip-hop and R&B influences, Rihanna went in the full direction of electronic music. You don't need to have the most amazing voice or come up with complex choreography to make great dance music. It's a vibe, and Rihanna is a curator of amazing vibes. Talk That Talk was Rihanna's return to the dark imagery of Rated R, but I feel like her sound matured since then.
Well, about the song.
I'm excited.
I feel great.
And then at this point, our job now, the key is to try to beat these songs off.
For sure.
Try to beat them off. Worst case, we'll end up
5 seconds deep.
Exactly. Yeah. Worst case. So.
A bit of the Deluxe album.
Making this project significantly better. Talk That Talk is what Rated R tried to be, in my opinion, and it's no fault to Rihanna, as she was just growing artistically. After releasing her previous studio album, Loud, in 2010, Rihanna announced on Twitter that she would be re-releasing a reissue with new songs in the fall of 2011. However, she later changed her mind and decided to not go ahead with the reissue, stating that Loud was already a complete piece of work. And I agree, I don't really think there needs to be any songs added to the album. In August 2011, songwriter Verse Simmons, who wrote and produced the reggae-infused song Man Down from Loud, revealed in an interview that Rihanna was almost finished with her 6th studio album. The duo also penned 2 tracks for the album and expressed interest in writing a 3rd. Rihanna confirmed on her official Twitter account in September 2011 that recording sessions for the album were underway and promised to share more details with her fans. She also launched a Facebook campaign called Rihanna Unlocked, where her fans could complete missions in the form of games to receive new information about the album. Talk about an album rollout. The album standard edition artwork was later unveiled, with both MTV's James Dinn commenting on Rihanna's seductive appearance in the image. I would say Talk That Talk is a mix between the gritty Rated R imagery with a dash of Music of the Sun for nostalgia's sake. Upon its initial release, Talk That Talk was generally well received by music critics, who praised its musical direction and dance tracks, although some expressed mixed feelings about its composition and lyrics. The album made its debut at number 3 on the US Billboard 200 chart, selling nearly 200,000 copies during its first week of release in the United States. As of June 2012, the album has sold more than 900,000 copies in the United States alone. Talk That Talk is when Rihanna reached her peak success in her music career, with her music being virtually inescapable on the radio and in nightclubs. Talk That Talk also achieved chart success in several other countries. In fact, it entered the UK album charts at number 1, selling over 160,000 copies its first week. The album was certified double platinum by the British phonographic industry in December 2011. 6 singles have been released from this album. The lead, We Found Love, one of my personal favorites of the album, features Calvin Harris and premiered on August 10, 2011, and quickly became Rihanna's 11th number 1 hit in the United States, placing her 3rd alongside Whitney Houston for the female artist with the most number 1 singles on the chart, behind only Madonna and Mariah Carey. Rihanna wasn't the first person offered this song though. Leona Lewis and Nicole Schwarzenegger of the Pussycat Dolls were offered this song, but they did not record it. Leona Lewis turned it down because she worked with DJ Calvin Harris on another track. She preferred his other track to this one. And Nicole was offered this track too, but she did not want to record it. She didn't want to record a song with so much dancing involved. Nicole and Leona Lewis's loss was Rihanna's gain because the song became a hit for her. The single peaked at number 1 on the Hot 100 charts. The song sold over 10 million copies worldwide. The song remained atop the chart for 10 non-consecutive weeks, surpassing Umbrella as Rihanna's most successful run on the Hot 100 to date. The track also topped the charts in 26 additional countries. The single, You The One, was released on November 14, 2011, and was moderately successful both in the United States and internationally, peaking at number 14 and 16 on the Billboard Hot 100, respectively. It was highly praised for being radio-friendly and catchy. The eponymous Talk That Talk featuring rapper Jay-Z and remix of Birthday Cake featuring singer Chris Brown were released as the album's 3rd and 4th singles on January 17, 2012, and on March 6, 2016, respectively, to moderate success. Despite no official release of the remix or music video to Birthday Cake, it managed to peak at number 24 on the Billboard Hot 100 and reached number 2 on the US Hot R&B Hip Hop Songs charts. They both received mixed to positive reviews. The critics for the first track praised the catchy hip hop influences of the song by Rihanna and the feature of Jay-Z, and the latter song's catchy aspects and hooks, but criticized its sexual lyrics. Also, I think that Rihanna should have made the song a bit longer. It was entirely too short because by the time you get amped up and start getting your life, it ends. Where Have You Been, which is my favorite song off the album, was released as the 5th US and 3rd international single from the album on May 8th, 2011. It reached top 10 of 10 countries around the world, including at number 6 on the UK singles chart and number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. The song garnered rave reviews from critics who praised its resemblance to its lead, We Found Love. It incorporates dance pop, electro house, and techno influences, and contains an instrumental chorus with a breakdown. A remix to Cockiness, Love It, featuring rapper and baby daddy A$AP Rocky, was released as the 6th and final single from this album on September 7, 2011. Rihanna's immersion into dance pop and EDM proved to be successful with Loud and Talk That Talk, and with the electro dance pop genre growing in popularity, her star power grew. After Rated R, Loud, and Talk That Talk, you would think that Rihanna was done, but no, she had more tricks up her sleeve, more legendary looks and radio hits that led her to be virtually dominating pop music from the early 2010s. From 2011 to 2013, Rihanna was the standard when it came to dance pop, with most of her singles charting highly, especially when electro dance pop was at its peak popularity. Join me in the next episode as we see how Rihanna was able to so effortlessly switch up her sound as dance pop begins to be replaced by mellower pop music as we reach the mid-2010s. Peace out.
But we leaving, so I can just meet y'all like somewhere. Mommy, yeah. All right, do that. Go back to work. But mommy, I want the car. I want to try. Mommy, you gotta drop home with somebody and let me get the car now.
Top down, alright.
Alright, you go on. We talk. We can figure it out.
In order for a pop artist to hope to survive past a decade of their debut, they need to be able to change with the ebb and flow that is popular culture. And Rihanna is one of those artists who can so effortlessly keep up with the ever-changing music industry while simultaneously creating its trends. Unapologetic is marked as a moment of transition for Rihanna, where she leaves singles-based radio-friendly albums in favor of intricate storytelling and experimental production styles. It was also around the unapologetic era that Rihanna solidified herself as a fashion icon. And as electronic dance music began to slow in popularity, I'm sure Rihanna and her team figured out a way and strategized a way to transition her music into the new popular sound of the 2000s, which was more hip-hop. By the mid-2010s, hip-hop was starting to become the dominant culture of America, and with this change came the explosion of hip-hop music across the country and the world. Along with that came trap. Trap music is a subgenre of hip-hop that originated in the southern United States and takes influences from rap and EDM. Trap music continued to gain traction in the mid-2010s and cross over to the mainstream with hits like Fetty Wap's 2015 mainstream hit song, Trap Queen. Today, trap artists continue to make music, and the style has influenced music production for mainstream hip-hop artists like Drake, Migos, and the A$AP Mob.
Why is the album called Unapologetic?
Because it's very true. It's very raw, it's honest, and it's storytelling. Each song, and even the way it flows on the album, it really makes sense. It takes you on a journey all the way to, that's just the half of it. And I don't know, that's it. It can only be that way. There's only one truth, and you can't apologize for that. And that's why I called it that.
Rihanna's Unapologetic, released in 2012, was Rihanna's attempt at catching on to the wave of trap-influenced production before it became all over the radio like it was at its peak in 2015. What I love about this album is how innovative and risky it was while still giving her dance and EDM lover fans something as well. In retrospect, the album is very dated sonically because of how defined the sound is in each song. It's split 50-50 between electro-pop, dubstep, and the emergent popularity of trap, while also giving the balladry we were used to in the late 2000s and early 2010s. 2012 was still the era of dubstep and electro dance pop, but trap and hip-hop was starting to rise in popularity. I feel that Rihanna changing musical direction subtly in this album gave the Navy a new introduction into a new, more refined Rihanna.
Well, you have 24 top 10 hits. The stats on your record sales, absolutely, because that's staggering, are staggering. I mean, at what point do you feel like, I did it, I'm the Black Madonna? At what point in your career will you feel like, really? I mean, you have this Navy, you have 62.3 million fans on Facebook.
There will never be another Madonna. Like that just like point blank. At this point, I am so good with being Rihanna, and like I love her.
By the time the 2010s rolled around, Rihanna was the top girl in the industry, with a handful of hit singles, including 2011's We Found Love, which became her longest #1 song, and sold out tours. There was no question or doubt that she was a certified pop phenomenon and a living legend. But the higher her star ascended, the more powerful the microscope looking into her personal life became. Following criticism about her overtly sexual bad gal persona and brief reconnection with former Flame Chris Brown, Rihanna audaciously brought all of these thoughts forward with 2012's aptly titled Unapologetic. In my opinion, Unapologetic is also her most underrated, as it showcases the complexities she was navigating in the public eye, similar to Rated R, but in a more mature tone. There's a grittiness to the collection, from the production's overall darker tone to the intricate songwriting. The singer's hesitation to peel back her layers is nearly tangible in her vocals, making it more of an adult sequel of sorts to the personal diary that was 2009's Rated R. Coming off singles-based albums like 2010's Loud and 2011's Talk That Talk, Unapologetic goes back to more sonic and lyrical cohesion. In expressing her enthusiasm for exploring new sonic landscapes, Rihanna shared her passion for experimentation and collaboration with diverse sounds, aiming to avoid one-dimensional compositions. She mentioned that the current focus is on collecting and crafting the sound itself, with the lyrical direction and melodies yet to be fully developed. Although still in the early stages, she had a rough idea in mind and eagerly anticipated starting the creative process. Sean Garrett, discussing the album's sound, described it as a captivating blend of various genres. In an interview with GQ's Men of the Year, Rihanna revealed her aspiration for her music to inspire and uplift listeners, emphasizing her intention to avoid cliches or overly sentimental themes. Her goal is to create music that invokes a sense of hope and ignites a passionate response, remaining genuine, authentic, and unfiltered. The initial portion of the album consists of electro dance music and southern hip-hop with a smooth and syrupy touch. These tracks incorporate intense sound effects and unconventional beats. The overall style draws heavily from dubstep, a bass-driven subgenre characterized by its distinctive synthetic sounds and booming bass drops, very dated sound and very annoying. Additionally, elements of dance pop and chopped and screwed sounds are interwoven. The New York Times described the album's music as forceful, raw, and complex, exemplified by David Guetta's guttural production on tracks like Fresh Out the Runway and Right Now. Another critic described the album's sound as expansive R&B pop, while Time magazine identified an urban R&B vibe. According to one critic, the various producers involved in Unapologetic made a deliberate departure from Rihanna's previous pop dance formulas, opting to reshape trendy sounds into less familiar forms. The latter half of the album leans towards ballads and incorporates elements of disco, reggae, and rock. Lively tracks like Fresh Out the Runway, Jump, and Pour It Up exude a seize-of-the-day hedonism. A significant portion of the album's lyrics revolve around Rihanna's relationship with Chris Brown, and the latter half of the album features lighter songs with allusions to a dysfunctional love life. The album's thematic content is mirrored by an abundance of minor key melodies throughout its tracks. According to James Reed of the Boston Globe, Unapologetic serves as a defiant response to her critics, particularly those who disapprove of her connections with Brown, symbolizing a raised middle finger to their judgment. Scott observed an undercurrent of celebrity-related context through the album, with the song's narrators portrayed as troubled, anxious, and adrift. They exist in a state of emotional ambivalence, drawn to their lover, yet uneasy about what lies ahead. Spin magazine remarked that Rihanna expresses her unapologetic love for money, love, and living in the present moment on tracks like Pour It Up, Love Song, and Right Now, respectively. The Unapologetic era was anchored by vulnerability, with the #1 lead single, Diamonds.
Do you have a favorite Rihanna song, or does it change all the time?
It used to be Umbrella before Diamonds.
Before
Diamonds came along.
Okay.
And then, I mean, Diamonds right now is just... Thank you. It's a really powerful song, even to listen to it. It just gets you. Oh, you just get sucked in. And
yeah.
Even if you're in the club, it really fucks with your head. Like,
yeah. Even if you're in the club, for sure.
Revealing a different side of Rihanna not seen before. Rather than choosing a fast-paced club anthem for the first single as she's done with albums prior, she instead opted to slow the tempo. The choice was similar to the Rated R rollout, which was led by the melancholic ballad Russian Roulette and displayed the artist's growing maturity. Working with Sia for the first time, Rihanna brought her poetic lyrics to life with one of her strongest vocal performances to date. The overarching theme of Diamonds is wrapped in love, but Rihanna's throaty, yearning timbre amps the song's emotions. The album's somber nature continues with Stay, a piano-led duet with Mickey Echo. The ballad and accompanying video finds Rihanna stripped bare, revealing a raw tenderness as she begs her lover to not leave her side. Unapologetic is more introspective, with songs like Love Without You, Tragedy, Mother Mary, detailing a self-awareness with her ever-growing celebrity influence. Mother Mary, I Swear I Want to Change, Mr. Jesus, I'd Love to Be a Queen, but I'm from the left side of the island. Never thought this many people would even know my name. Tracks like this give us a teaser of what's to come on her next album, with more vulnerable themes. The crashing ballad, What Now, one of my favorites off the album, finds her searching for the answers as she tries to figure out what life path she should take, while the Chris Brown-assisted Nobody's Business and deluxe track Half of Me revealed how fed up she was with the media's perception of her. You saw me on television hanging out my dirty linen, she muses on the latter. You're entitled to your own opinion. Sit and shake your head at my decisions. But Unapologetic is not all serious. Rihanna finds balance by doubling down on her bad gal persona, paired with a heightened version of her signature sex appeal. The hedonistic Pour It Up adds a strip club banger to her party catalog, and the fashion-forward Fresh Out the Runway highlights her edgy charm. In the United States, Unapologetic debuted at #1 at the Billboard 200 and sold over 200,000 copies its first week. It was Rihanna's first #1 album in the US and the best-selling debut week of her career. In the same week, the album's lead single, Diamonds, remained at the top of the Billboard Hot 100 for a second consecutive week. Consequently, Rihanna became the second artist of 2012 to top both the Billboard 200 and Hot 100 simultaneously. What most people adore about Rihanna is how willing she is to be vulnerable with her fans. She's human. She's not this ethereal pop princess who lives to serve her fans. She's imperfect, and Unapologetic captures that. She's not afraid to showcase her flaws. Her Unapologetic tour, though not memorable in respect to performances, it was memorable in how Rihanna sought to make her fans feel more like friends getting to know her in this era, making her one of music's most humble and iconic pop divas to date.
Is this working? Yes. Code 777! Who's ready for Mexico? Get your ass in the seat, buckle up the seatbelts, and let's get drunk!
Unpopular opinion. If Rihanna never released another music project ever again, I will be fine. I came to this conclusion while doing this series, and I'll explain why. It's not because she's not talented or that her music is bad. It's mainly due to the sheer vastness of her music catalog and the value she has brought to pop music. By 2014, Rihanna had made her mark in the music business as a platinum-selling singer, and she also started to establish herself as a true fashion icon. Rihanna has nearly done it all in terms of what one dreams of as a pop star and entertainer, and she accomplished this all before the age of 30.
How's this for a list of superlatives? Best-selling digital artist, most liked person on Facebook, first artist to surpass 4 billion, that's with a B, views on YouTube, and the first ever recipient of the AMA Icon Award. And now...
I think this is why we won't see another album from her for a while. She has simply run out of ideas, or better yet, she has expressed herself to her fullest ability in music and no longer feels compelled to continue on the rat race to the ever-changing top girl position. In my research for this series, I've also noticed that Rihanna started to do less and less public interviews after Loud, and looking behind the scenes, you can see in some shots that she doesn't seem to enjoy the nitty-gritty of being an entertainer. She hated touring. Rihanna's overall energy and enthusiasm for the lifestyle of a pop star seemed to dwindle with each era despite her music getting better and better. This is where the sentiment for anti comes into place. Rihanna is the anti-pop star and vents her frustrations with having to conform to the pop formula in this album. Perhaps another reason for Rihanna taking a break from music is that she was longing to enjoy the fruits of her labor, to truly live. Remember, she was in the industry since 17. Being that young, it's hard to find yourself and have a life when your job consumes most of it. Since her 2005 debut album, Music of the Sun, the superstar had released a new album almost every year, with the deluxe reloaded edition of Good Girl Gone Bad filling the gap in 2008. Following 2012's Unapologetic, Rihanna had also been expanding her empire into other industries, from film to fashion, while also dropping a string of singles to appease the masses. I personally think that the back-to-back release of the albums and touring leading up to Unapologetic and Anti led Rihanna to creative burnout. The Unapologetic era was the prelude into the next phase in Rihanna's career, where she started to reject the formula that led to most of her albums being radio hits in favor of more personal and timeless music that meant something to her and resonated deeper with her fans. She was yearning to create music that was timeless with Anti and succeeded. I feel like that's why Anti was so good and is still so good. It was all of the bottled up things Rihanna wanted to express, but her artistry needed to evolve first for the message to be delivered as intended. See my previous videos on the evolution of Rihanna's career. Anti was Rihanna's musical catharsis, a timeless gem in Rihanna's vast catalog of hits.
Daycare, and everybody had to take a picture, and this one my mother just fell in love with, and we never forgot it, and I brought this one to him, and he really reinterpreted it in his own way, with exactly the message that I wanted. Roy, I'm going to let you do the speaking for now.
In an interview with MTV News in March 2015, Rihanna said she wanted her 8th album to be soulful, timeless, having found the really big songs on her past albums had fallen out of her taste. She said, "I wanted an album that I could perform in 15 years, not any songs that were burnt out." The record was initially to be executive produced by rapper-producer Kanye West, who had produced the single 4 or 5 Seconds, and recorded it with Rihanna and English musician Paul McCartney, but the plan fell through. Although Rihanna wanted the record to represent her authentic self, feeling numb and disconnected from her emotions, she experienced an emotional turmoil. Speaking with Sarah Paulson for the October 2019 issue interview, Rihanna talked about her spiritual well-being while making Anti, saying, "I have been in a place where I felt like maybe I had disappointed God so much that we weren't as close." Most of the songs were recorded at the Westlake Recording Studios. Songwriter Bibi Borelli had been working with producer Paperboy Fabe, who arranged a session with West. The result was the song Higher. Later, Rihanna and James Fauntleroy also contributed to the songwriting. Higher was recorded in the early morning hours while Rihanna was under the influence of alcohol. She's quoted saying, "We just said, you know what, let's just drink some whiskey and record this song." This is such a Rihanna-esque statement. The song was described by Rihanna as a drunk voicemail. Rihanna and Fauntleroy also collaborated on 3 other songs, Desperado, Close to You, and James Joint. The latter was written with Rihanna and Shay Taylor, who wrote the song in less than 30 minutes, while Close to You was written after producer Brian Kennedy sent Fauntleroy a piano music sample. Desperado was written by Mike Schultz and Rook Monroe. After visiting Rihanna's home, Schultz was contacted a week later by the singer's team, who stated that she really liked the record. Rihanna, Fauntleroy, and Cook Harrow were all later involved in the song's development, production, and recording. In the summer of 2015, songwriter and producer Rupert Thomas, together with Alan Ritter, among others, stayed at Canadian rappers Drake's house in Los Angeles for several days. During the time the lead single Work was conceived, Thomas created the beat and played it for another producer, for which he positively responded. The producer came up with the idea for sampling an old school dancehall rhythm. After the chords were made, when the song's music was finished, the producer sent it to Party Next Door, who wrote the lyrics. 2 songs were each recorded at the Jungle City Studios in New York City and Windmark Recording Studios in Los Angeles. The studio sessions at Jungle City produced the opening track Consideration and Kiss It Better. Rihanna stated, when recording Consideration, she felt a connection to it, stating the song captured the sound and attitude she was aiming for. The recording sessions at Windmark Recording Studios produced the songs Never Ending and Love on the Brain. The former was written by Chad Sabo during his time in California, where Sabo was playing with the band Basic Vacation. Sabo was in the band's van and began to write the intro riff that would become Never Ending. Shortly after, he took the song home and attempted to bring the song together using a digital 8-track studio. He later worked on the song's lyrics and posted it to the internet. The writing process of Never Ending began in November 2013 and started again in April 2014, at which Rihanna became interested in the track and wanted to record it. English singer-songwriter Dido is also credited as a writer on the track due to a similarity in the melody of Never Ending and Dido's 1999 song Thank You. The only song which was recorded outside the United States was Same Old Mistakes. The track was recorded at Twin Studios in Paris. Rihanna's team contacted Tame Impala's management and informed them that Rihanna loved the band's song New Person's Same Old Mistakes, and asked if she could re-record the track for Anti. The song's writer, Kevin Parker, and the sole person in Tame Impala agreed, giving Rihanna permission to record the song. After hearing Rihanna's version, Parker stated, "We're really happy with how the song turned out. We love it. Also, if you're into music similar to New Person's Same Old Mistakes, I highly suggest checking out Tame Impala's Currents, which is one of my personal favorite albums of all time." On Consideration, Rihanna considers the scope of her career. She has this deep desire to be considered a serious artist, not just an entertainer, which to Ree means writing and producing her own work. Rihanna has long been considered a singles artist, meaning her albums up until Unapologetic were focused on the song's individual success. Artists who are slapped with this label have the tendency for their work to be undermined compared to artists who focus more on the album's experience. On Anti, Rihanna has a writing credit on every song aside from Same Old Mistakes, compared to 0 writing credits on her 5th album, Loud. Although the song served as the perfect opener for Anti, it was originally intended to be on SZA's 2017 album Control. In an interview with ID Magazine, SZA said she performed the song for Rihanna and Pharrell during a writing camp and was reluctant to give it up. SZA even attributed the loss of Consideration as a part of her reason her own album was so delayed. In the interview, she said, "Control probably would have been completed a year earlier had I kept Consideration. That was the centerpiece. I shot a video for it and everything. Consideration is one of my favorite tracks off the album, and I wish they would have found a way where both artists were able to keep the song." James Joint is a song reminiscent of Summer Nights and Deep Reflection, named after one of Rihanna's co-writers, James Fauntleroy. Fauntleroy and Rihanna previously worked together on a number of tracks from Rated R, included the singles Te Amo and Wait Your Turn. She spoke about the song during her V magazine cover shoot, saying, "Dude, I'm in love with my interludes. This one, called James Joint, is on constant repeat." The song was released via Riri's website on April 21st, 2015 in celebration of 420. Kiss It Better tells a story of a broken relationship through booming guitar riffs and bold vocal expressions. She is aware that no one does it like him. Instead of arguing all night, she kisses it better. A preview of the song first appeared in December 2014, over a year before the release of Anti, on Rihanna's Instagram page, featuring guitarist Nuno Bettencourt. In December 2015, a few weeks before the album's release, the song's producer, Glass John, took to interview and ranted about the delays behind Rihanna's album. According to Glass John, Kiss It Better was supposed to be the first single for Anti, but Travis Scott convinced Rihanna to go with Bitch Better Have My Money instead. According to James Corden, the host of CBS The Late Show with James Corden, Rihanna was supposed to perform this song at the 2016 Grammys, but Rihanna ended up canceling her performance at the last minute due to health issues. I'm not sure what happened specifically, as there was very little information beyond this, but perhaps health issues are reasons why Rihanna is on hiatus from music. You never know. On the smash hit Work, Rihanna teases her love, saying that she seeks a deep, meaningful connection. However, the male character she sings to, played by Drake, is only interested in you-know-what. This narrative is similar to Rihanna and Drake's previous collaborations, such as 2010's What's My Name, and I love this cat and mouse thing Drake and Rihanna always had with their collaboration projects. Rihanna sings Work in Jamaican patois throughout, which she spoke about in Vogue's April 2016 cover. You get what I'm saying, but it's not all the way perfect, because that's how we speak in the Caribbean. Talking about Drake, she said, "Everything he does is so amazing. We could go out into the Caribbean and just dance and drink and smoke and flirt." One of the song's producers, Alan Ritter, told Genius that the song originally came together at a pool party at Drake's house. Snippets of Work began to circulate in January 2016 after the pair were spotted shooting a music video in an LA mall. On January 26, Power 106 DJ Justin Credible tweeted that the collaboration between Drake and Rihanna would be coming sooner than anticipated. As we all know, Work went on to be a smash hit success. Rihanna sings about a desperado, someone on the run, either literally or metaphorically. It could be interpreted as Rihanna on the run from the public's perception of her, or it could be interpreted as a story of tumultuous love as she struggles in the relationship and wonders whether she could run away with him or if she'll get left behind. The beat on Desperado is an interpolation on the background vocals on alternative R&B singer Banks' song Waiting Game. The song's producer Mike Schultz said that he wanted the song to sound edgy, going on to say, "I like to do different things and try to push the envelope on sounds. If you listen to the record, it's got an alternative vibe, but still has urban undertones, but it's guitar and dirty live bass. I was just trying to do something edgy. I'm going into dark, edgy stuff that moves you, put you in a mood." Woo is the only track with a credited feature from Rihanna's previously rumored boyfriend, Travis Scott. The Weeknd is credited as one of the track's composers and lyricists. His demo of the song was leaked online on June 7, 2018. Like other songs on Anti, Woo is a breakout track. In the first verse, Rihanna expresses contempt towards her ex in this new flame. She exudes her trademark confidence with lines like, "Bet she could never make you cry, 'cause the scars on your heart are still mine." As the track progresses, Rihanna's vulnerability comes to the surface until she finally admits, "I don't really mean to love you. I don't really mean to care about you no more." Needed Me is a mid-tempo mood piece with raw lyrics, set over top a dark, fluttery synth sounds, produced by DJ Mustard. Rihanna provides a solid female empowerment anthem with this one, per her fans on Twitter. Needed Me was the perfect breakup anthem for Summer 16. The song was co-written by singer-songwriter Stara, who worked with Jeremiah, Kid Ink, and G-Eazy, and Prince Charles, who written for Usher, Enrique Iglesias, and the Backstreet Boys. Timbaland's only credit on the album, Yeah I Said It, finds Rihanna in a full-blown siren mode, detailing her desire for an aggressive partner in the bedroom, like an updated version of Loud's S&M. Same Old Mistakes, another personal favorite of mine, is a cover of Tame Impala's 2015 Currents Closer, New Person's Same Old Mistakes. During the making of Anti, Rihanna said she wanted songs that I could perform in 15 years, and the song New Person's Same Old Mistakes perfectly encapsulates this timeless feel. She could release it today and still it sounds fresh. Tame Impala's team issued a statement to Eminem about this cover that I mentioned previously. Tame Impala's team issued a statement to NME about Rihanna's cover. The Roc Nation team got in touch with us here at Springtop, letting us know that Rihanna loved New Person's Same Old Mistakes. They asked if she could cover the song for her new record. Kevin was more than happy to send it her way. We're all really happy with how the song turned out. Never Ending includes writing credits for Dido and Paul Herman. The melody in the final two lines on the verse is reminiscent of Dido's 2000 hit Thank You, which Dido and Herman wrote together. While Thank You is a song of appreciation and gratitude, Never Ending deals with the conflicting feels that come with falling in love again after a torturous breakup. Love on the Brain has a 1950s doo-wop sound that is reminiscent of other contemporary songs like Amy Winehouse's Wake Up Alone and Beyonce's Superpower. The chord progression, guitar line, and organs are reminiscent of Al Green's For the Good Times. In the song, Rihanna pleads to her lover that it must be love on the brain responsible for her acting out of character. And babe, I'm fist fighting with fire just to get close to you. Can we burn something, babe? And I'll run for miles just to get a taste. Must be love on the brain. According to songwriter Bibi Borelli, Higher was written in only 20 minutes. She spoke to Vice about the song. Everything happens for a reason. Working with Rihanna has changed my life. The 20 minutes it took me to write Higher is actually what changed my life. because even though we wrote Bitch Better Have My Money first, she heard that one first. The intoxicating Anti track first surfaced in March 2015 as a pair of Instagram previews posted by Rihanna while drunk on whiskey at 5 a.m. Rihanna compared the song to a drunken voicemail, as I mentioned. You know he's wrong, and then you get drunk and you're like, I could forgive him, I could call him, I could make up with him, just desperate. Album closer, Close to You, is a haunting piano ballad reminiscent of Rihanna's 2012 standout track, Stay. Lyrically, the song deals with the singer's struggle to move on from a past love. Frequently, Rihanna's collaborator and co-writer for Close to You, James Fauntleroy, talked about the making of this R&B ballad, saying, "Whenever I'm writing songs for Rihanna, I'm also thinking about specific things we all know about her, but I'm also trying to make it something that everyone can relate to. Close to You is some things that I know she feels, but people also feel in general. When you're thinking of any famous person that had a relationship in the media, you remember that everyone has had that feeling when they're alone and feeling sad, but people are more likely to pretend that nothing is wrong with them than the opposite." Goodnight Gotham appears on the deluxe edition of Anti. In 2015, it served as the music for Christian Dior's ad Secret Garden 4, also starring Rihanna. The song does not feature any vocals from the singer herself, but contains a sample of Florence the Machine's Only If for a Night. During an interview, Florence revealed some information on how the addition of the song came about, saying, "I was so thrilled because I'm such a huge fan. She sent me the song and I said, of course, but we never actually managed to speak. I mean, we've met before, but we've never managed to speak in person about it. We were both really happy. We got to hug it out. It was one of my favorite songs from the ceremonials, and I love it when stuff like this happens. When people reimagine your music, I love that, when it has all these different forms." In December 2014, Rihanna met at the Trocadero Square in Paris to be filmed for a video for Anti. Running down the path, she jumped into the arms of a fan who was subsequently surrounded. Pose is a braggadocio track detailing Rihanna's love for money and opposing indignant people. In Sex With Me, Rihanna makes it clear that having sex with her is something unique. In fact, it's luxurious. Rihanna has definitely mentioned the act on many songs, including Birthday Cake, Cockiness, S&M, Push Up On Me, Watch and Learn, and You the One. On Anti, she mentions her sex appeal multiple times, but it's different here. Instead of generally vague lyrics, these are more raw and personal, and just more sexy. I get such heavy, intense nostalgia listening to Anti because it was literally on repeat my entire junior year of high school. Each track transports me back into a time in my life where things were simple, and I feel like truly good music has the power to do that. I can see myself playing this at any stage in my life. It has the same timeless feel as Beyonce's 4 or Lana Del Rey's Born to Die. Rihanna wanted to make a timeless body of work, and I think she succeeded at just that. Peace out.